got food at home kick. So earlier today, I just reached into my freezer and pulled out the first thing that I grabbed, and it was the biggest chicken breast I have ever seen. Like that bitch is defrosted now, and I picked it up and was like, God damn, this is about as huge as an actual titty. It's just like, and speaking of titties,
Hold on. Oh, Bill, is that you in the background? What that background coming?
That gotta be Bill.
What? Oh,
It's an echo as soon as you enter,
Sorry,
bro.
I probably can't say that online.
I think it's good now, Bill. Whatever you just did, it's working now.
I ain't do nothing.
Oh, well. I was gonna say, what's crazy? The one food we rarely, if ever, get ordered out as soul food because me and my wife, we both can cook. So, if we want some, we can.
We ain't even got no soul food places around my way. I mean, unless it's Jamaican.
Yes. Not in Jersey.
Yeah, I like the Caribbean
so
spots.
Jamaicans can cook pretty much anything.
Jamaicans.
I heard they can't make. Everybody say they can't make macaroni and cheese, so I never tried it.
In my experience, that is true, but I'm not going.
Yeah.
We're
not
gonna
everybody
slam,
can make macaroni.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie.
That's the one thing. Everybody say Caribbeans can't make macaroni and cheese.
I feel like macaroni and cheese is like a black people thing. Like Africans don't really know how to.
Wait, stop!
It was us that went to France to learn how to bake the bitch. So it's just like
we gotta. All right, so we listen. This is the most niggas I've had at once. I don't know how we're gonna do this, but we gotta alpha male podcast style this where everybody knows how to take their turn.
You mean I gotta be Spanish today? You mean I gotta be straight? God damn!
You don't gotta be strong.
I'm Latino for the day. I'm not a nigga.
Hey, y'all ever seen Lord of the Flies? Y'all ever seen Lord of the Flies?
Yes, the conch.
We need a conch.
The conch. I don't know.
The fist of the conch or something like that.
The fist of the. Is there a thing?
You said Lord of the Flies. I immediately thought of SpongeBob.
Yes.
What?
Yes.
I don't know what that
she
means.
do? Nothing.
Okay, one of y'all explain that because I don't know what the hell that means. How that works.
Yeah, I don't understand. I didn't grow up on SpongeBob, but I'm not gonna take it away from the youth though.
Tail end of my childhood. Season 1 and 2. Season 1 and 2.
Same. I need the Lord of the Flies reference. What did SpongeBob do?
It's like
You had to be there,
kind of
bro.
like Lord of the Flies. And they have a conch too. And the conch tells them everything they supposed to do. And come to find out, we thinking Patrick and SpongeBob is goofies as usual, but come to find out at the end, listening to the conch, it kept them fed. And Squidward was the one that wound up looking like a goofy. So
you see what happens when men go their own way,
right?
That's really what the metaphor was.
And there was a toy at that.
Yeah, it was one of those draws. Yeah, exactly.
So we trying to wait. I'm trying to let Turb, the notoriously always late Turb, get in here.
But him not been around niggas his whole life. He stay on.
He's not helping that.
He understand our time concepts.
Yes,
exactly.
CP song.
Hold on. Hey, everybody in the chat, man. I'm in this bitch, so I don't know if y'all used to mind, but pull up
cups at the same time.
I'm gonna tell everybody now. It's a time. It's a because it's gonna get edited out anyway. It's a video hack. I always get people ask me why I got so many cups, and that drive up analytics.
Hey,
valid.
Have y'all seen Shan Spears' new joint?
Yeah,
I have it in my watch later. I have watched it. I haven't.
She got a Khadijah in it, right?
No, that was the one before that. The one that she just dropped it, I think Saturday. Shan Spears. If you hear about this, you got to let me know, fam, how Shan Spears, non-binary. They put like, you ever go on TikTok and it's like somebody talking, right? And it's the TikTok. But like next to it is like a video game or somebody playing with like sand.
Yeah. The TikTok.
Yeah, they did that multiple times in the video, and I ain't gonna front. I stayed locked in, looking at the sand and the sludge and all these things. I'm like, yo, this might be the engagement hack for the video essays that we never knew We need it.
I just thought that they did that for the kids to focus on when they got their phones.
For the kids.
I see. Okay.
No,
I don't know what y'all talking about.
I've seen that trope come up in like 3 videos now. When every time I think like Hoots and like Lily Alexander also did that in one of their videos, and it's always like a meta commentary to be like, yeah, this is what the kids keep them like engaged. And every time they put it up, I'm like, but the Subway Surfer,
right?
But it's so calming, and I'm still listening, and I don't know how to feel about that. But like, that is the let's be real. Like, if y'all see B-roll coming, like 3 B-rolls next to the side of me next video, don't say nothing.
I need to see what that graph look like. I need to see what that graph look like.
That might be a cool hack.
You know, we are not above hacks over here at Cornbread too. We listen. We ain't got the same install base to get these numbers up. So we will take advantage when we can. We're gonna go ahead and get started. I'm sure Turd about to come in. So it's pretty simple. We all saw Spider-Man. We all thought it was great, and we got a lot of shit to say. We have no organized document. We have no plan for this. It's just
like niggas.
It's just like niggas. It's like, all right, how you think? What you think? So we're gonna try our best to be civil. We're gonna try our best to be respectful and to be cordial. We're gonna try our best to avoid. We're gonna try our best to avoid drudging up issues that we've already dealt with. However, certain things in the movie might cause certain things to resurface, but we'll edit out what needs to be edited out, and you'll see this on everybody's channel in some form or fashion. Because I'm gonna just cut. I'm not gonna cut nothing up. I'm gonna cut my part up. I'm gonna get the rest of y'all to raw. I'm gonna let y'all figure that out. Because yeah. All right. So shit. Where do we even start?
The beginning.
The first thing first. You know.
Yeah. What's the first thing first?
I love that this movie it just answers the question: what happens when you date your first white woman?
The whole world turns against you.
Right? You're like no, but in the real sense, it's like I think the first thing I would want to talk about, if anybody wants to talk about something more important, you have the floor. But is that very intentional sort of, I'd even call it like a generational or class dynamic between like the younger Spider-Mans being Hobie, digital spider person, like all the colored ones, Sand Spider Issa, and then all of these like older, the Miguel O'Hara, Peter B. Parker, and how they both have to wrestle with this idea of the canon and this idea that like if anything, the real disagreement is, hey, I don't know what's gonna happen next. How do you feel about that? The older generation, right, that's informed by what's been going on, is like Miguel even says it himself. He says, when Gwen asks, do you know what's going to happen if he breaks the canon? Miguel says, do you want to find out? And like, that is the conversation we're always happening right now, right? Like, I don't know what's going to fix this thing, but half of us want to move forward and try something new. And the other half is, I wouldn't even put it like so bluntly like that, but the other half is like, I just want to conserve.
Let's kill this one nigga's dad. Right. And we can predict
right. You know, then we don't got to find out what else is new. I just know we got that one guy got to go, and that's why. Yeah.
That's real. I didn't think about. I'm sorry. What?
No, I was just saying it's a very interesting way of establishing some sort of connection to a status quo when it comes to Spider-Man stories, and it's one thing I realized as I left the theater, realizing about Spider-Man in general, not just Peter Parker and Miles Morales, but apparently how it traverses like every iteration and every variant, sticking with multiversal shit. That there is a very strong sense, mostly thanks to writers of the character, of nihilism when it comes to the destiny of Spider-Man. And considering that it's up to Miles, it's Miles' decision to decide to break away from like the repetition. Like it goes back. It draws from different aspects of like should Neo restart the Matrix and things like that. And it's just it's a very much because it's like we all had seen those discussions online. How come Peter can't stay married to Mary Jane? How come he always has to be poor? Like,
I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
Somebody messaged Turb to give me a second while I upgrade the stream, because I guess I can't have more than 6 people on at once, but he's here.
Okay.
So yeah, but go ahead.
Yeah, so it's like it goes back into that territory, and Miles making the decision because this is his life, this is his family, regardless of what's going on. It's just like he has this opportunity to break free from that sense of nihilism, and that's and the fact that everybody is so against it reminds me of very much. It actually reminds me a lot about like the whole like, why should Joe Biden cancel their student loans? I had to pay all my shit and everything like that. It's like all these Spider-Men and Spider-Women and Spider people have suffered their canon, and by order of Miguel, they stop. Somebody was like, no.
Right, and you can see why Miguel and why Peter need it, right? Why the other Spideys need it, because that canon event has already happened, right? Mm-hmm. And in order for them to go on, they've constructed a worldview in which, like, especially in Miguel's case, right? I tried to change it, they snapped everybody away. Mm-hmm. And I when I was watching it, I felt this all goes back to the Miles's like I'm him speech, or like I beat them all. To which, like, when you really look at it, to everybody else in Spider City, they're like, we need to stop this person because he's going to destroy the universe. But then to Miles, it's like, y'all keep telling me I don't belong all these places, but yet I keep winning. So it's like, right. And to them, they're like, well, that's an anomaly, because like they've already decided that this system should be working. But that is the metaphor, right? That like when you ingest new blood in, when you get new perspective in, it's allowed to, that it's anti-nihilistic. Right, that you're able to realize, oh, actually, this system is a lot more fluid than I thought, or at least I'm able to survive in it in a way that isn't predestined for me.
Exactly,
which is why the multiverse trope is like so good. Sorry, I'm gonna stop talking now.
Right. Y'all see the smile on Turb's face when he came in. Turb was like, "Oh my god, all these niggas!"
I got the comments. Let
me my bad. You got it, John. Is this the conch?
Shout out to the viewers from my channel. I thought this was low-key gonna be the kickback. Then I got on Twitter. I was like, "Oh, these niggas are serious." So I want to do my quick 3 to 5 minute review, and then y'all can get deeper. But I'm gonna talk next. I got the I think me and nephew closer on the same page. So just from an animation standpoint, I want to see how I feel from a year from now. But like probably in the hype, this is probably the best animation movie I've ever seen as far as why movies should be animated. I've lost count of how many styles we did. They incorporated Lego. They incorporated the very subtle filter of making it look like a comic book. A 14-year-old animated that Lego animated part. Wow. 14. They use different colors, but also the voice acting is amazing. If anybody watch any of my other videos, my big gripe is always that with American movies, they basically play professional voice. They throw professional voice actors to the side when it's time to get the real money. And they love to throw in A-list stars, but at least for this one, even though they did use a lot of celebrities, everybody did a legit good job. So I wanted to pull it up because my mind always go blank. Like Shameik Moore, obviously, Miles Morales did amazing. Brian Tyree Henry as his father. I didn't even know that was him, so I pulled it up.
No wonder.
Okay. Issa Rae obviously is Spider-Woman, and she already sounds like a cartoon. which made it really work. Daniel Kool-Aid is Hobie Brown. He says he did an accent. I can't tell British folks' accents. It sounds like regular native Daniel Kool-Aid to me.
Yeah.
Here's another one y'all probably didn't know. Shout out to I forgot her name. They did the video when Rue became black, but Amanda Steinberg, the girl who played Rue in Hunger Games, is Spider-Bite also.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
You got Mahershala Ali as Uncle Aaron.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then a ton of other people. So just from a visual standpoint, from a voice acting standpoint, I'm giving it 10 out of 10. Then as far as the storytelling, I looked at it more just because I'm a bigger fan. I look at everything more as movies first. So just from a strictly storytelling point, and we already told y'all, so y'all should know this is a spoiler cast. So one of my favorite things is that idea of Miles Morales. He is the original deviation or whatever they call it. And the directors confirmed that they made Miguel Harris' character like that as basically an avatar for the audience who didn't want to accept that a black Spider-Man exists, which is why he was telling them you never should have existed. And then as we get closer to the end of the movie, I just like the pace. I know some people probably didn't like it. It made sense to me that Peter B. Parker and Gwen Stacy kind of betrayed him. So it just makes sense to me from a storytelling point that at the end of the day, he feels like he's literally alone. Everybody is rejecting him. And at this point, they like, listen, man, we got to do what we got to do. And honestly, I like being the devil's advocate. So from one point, I can kind of understand, like, listen, man, we know how the Spider-Man story goes. It's almost breaking the fourth wall in the sense. We know you have to have tragedy to be a real Spider-Man. So I'm curious how that end in part 2. But just from a rating, I give it a 10 out of 10. It's perfect to me.
Yeah.
Let's got the comments.
Let's jump in.
Yeah.
All Darius Miles. Do y'all know who Darius Miles is?
I heard him.
I don't know who Darius
Never
Miles
mind.
is.
It's just a conch. It's just a conch. Never mind.
Yeah.
Who, the basketball player Darius Miles?
Never mind. I'm young. It's just a conch.
That was I know you're not talking about.
Something that I will say.
Not talking about the Clippers.
Go ahead, think.
Yeah. So I will say about Miles is that, like, from like Into the Spider-Verse to now, which is something I've been writing about just like here and there. It's like he's really mastered the art of being himself, no matter what, honestly. And something that I've really thought about recently is like that is his canon. Him breaking the status quo, him not doing all the traditional Spider-Man things, that is his canon. Like it's not him breaking the canon. That is the canon. Because in the scene where all the Spider people come around him and show their tragedies and show how Uncle Ben died, and then he realizes what's gonna happen to his dad. It's different in that way because it's like he knows what's gonna happen. He knows the day is gonna happen. He knows where it's gonna happen. He knows who's gonna do it. With Uncle Ben dying, them niggas didn't know who the hell was gonna cap Uncle Ben. They didn't know that shit. They know none of that. So it's like different in that way. It was like he actually knows what the hell's going. He actually knows what's about to happen. So he can do something to fix it. And I think that that's like something like, also is like Miguel is kind of like losing what it means to be Spider-Man. And I think that's something that they're gonna really focus on in Beyond the Spider-Verse, because that the tragedy that he went through with losing his family, like going to another dimension and then losing his entire universe of family, has made him forget the antithesis of Spider-Man. Like it is that like not giving up, finding it's like All-Star Superman. Like there is always a way. It's not just it has to end here. We're just gonna conform to a canon event, a fucking algorithm, right? Like
they use that very purposely.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
That's like never been the case, and especially in like Miles' case, he's always broke the status quo since his origins. That man came out of a Tumblr, Twitter, Donald for Spider-Man hashtag, got put in a community episode where Donald Glover wore a Spider-Man suit, and then his character got created off of that in 2011. Like Peter Parker been around for 60 plus years.
If I were to add on to that, that's the first anomaly. And like the way the Spider-Verse traverses social structures and like anomalies in itself is very real to the experience of Miles and very real to the experience of people around him. People like Gwen and people like I know Bellamy in the chat firing me up right now, but people like Gwen and people like Miles's dad, right, who've instead fallen in love with the system because they've seen the system and they've seen what it does to people. Like he's seen what it does to his uncle, right? If they go more into his origin story, him and his uncle used to be like crooks, right?
Yeah.
But then he transgressed and he like I guess, found a little puzzle in the system that he could fit in. And then he's looking at Miles and he's like, you are already disenfranchised in the system. You need to go through like this charter school.
Yeah.
You need to do this. You need to do this. You need to do X, 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 and X. That's the way we survive in the system. But Miles is a fucking anomaly, right? Miles, whatever Miles does, like Miles pulled a number 42 at the charter school. First of all, he learned how to use his powers in the span of a year, right? So much so that he beat
less than that.
Yeah, 200 different Spider-Man. Like Miles is an anomaly by his own right. And I'm not going on no black excellence shit and saying things like, oh, we need to pull ourselves up by power, right?
By fucking Sparta boots.
Yeah, but stories like Miles's, when we the problem with like seeing black as a monolith is we disregard stories like Miles's, right? Stories that are anomalous, stories where, because although like not everyone gets the same deck of playing cards, Miles got a better deck of playing cards than the people around him. And does that mean like he shouldn't use that deck of playing cards to his advantage? Like, does that mean he shouldn't combat the system? And the thing with the cops and Spider-Man always dying is that's the actual manifestation of structural, what's it called? Structural demolishment, especially with Miles, right? Because Miles's whole thing is combating against this Spider-Verse structural, against racial structures, against like a whole bunch of different isms. But Miles has to save his dad, you know, even though his dad is a cop. And that's an anomaly in the system too. But I'm saying like, why is Miles treated so much more differently than Spot, right? Because Spot is the one like distorting realms.
Clearly is a problem.
Yeah, he's the problem. But then you fit it in and you kind of realize like, oh, this whole Spider-Verse system thing is basically a metaphor for white supremacy. And it's a metaphor for how white men who I guess aren't allowed are fucked over by the system. They tend to put their anger on the diversity hire.
Wow.
Or their anger on the minority character or something.
They get to rage against the whole system with impunity. Meanwhile, they chasing Miles down. Like they're like, Miles, you're the anomaly. He can be like, all right, that's cool. But like, you see this dude right here, right? Like, we should probably start here. Like, no, we got to kill your dad, nigga. Like,
right. And you can understand, right? Like you, like you know, like I know you think that person, like the white blob making the huge hole in space time. That's the problem. Nah, you see this web that I brought over here is truly history,
right?
It's the issue, right? And I love what Term just brought up about the idea of the imagery of Spot being that maligned white dude bro who ends up on 4chan, not even on 4chan, like 4chan or Reddit or whatever. Yeah. And we're seeing this as like as a main metaphor, as a main, I don't want to say trope, but theme, because we see it in the new Dark Knight or the Batman or whatever it's called, right? Because even I fell for it in the first act the first time that I saw it, because they make the joke to Spot saying like, no, you're not just a villain of the week, no, you're such a good villain now. And like as an audience member, we kind of laugh because like obviously it's too little too late. But then being around the type of men, or the men that are in my comment section now, the men that I engage with, is like, no, that's actually how they feel. This is their power fantasy, right? Like not even just getting to do the thing, but having the people that made fun of you be like, actually, you're more important now, right before you destroy them. And I'm like, dang, what do we do with those boys? But that's not the point. The point is that he went into the Terminator or whatever, the little hyperbolic chamber, and messed up all of space-time. That's not Miles's fault. That's nor is it his responsibility to make sure that like the Spot is has well enough mental health to not destroy a town.
I'm conching in because we ain't got the conch. We supposed to conch Turb and color mine.
I did this really quickly after I went to Turb.
Everybody's doing something different.
Right after Turb.
Let me know. So number one, just real quick, if you haven't checked the chat, check the chat, not the chat, the Discord.
Yeah.
Just a quick announcement there. The other thing is, and this so many things, I'm gonna have to just go all the way back to my first thought. When John was talking about the performances, so I started tearing up. The first time I started tearing up was the very beginning with Spider-Gwen and her dad when he pulled out the cuffs on her, like yo. So like just a certain shit, not to like pull dad rank, but like when you got kids and you see fathers act the donkey, it hits you. So every time I see a dad do some foul shit, I'll be like, oh, I'm gonna get this nigga. Like so that was the first time. But I actually let some tears go at the end because of how well they presented Miles's like realization of his position in the world as a black boy. And I think everybody, I think everybody caught it. It was like, so he beat all the Spider-Man. He came home and he's talking to his mom. So number one, in so many situations, talking to your mom as a black boy is the like only safe space you feel like is true, right? Not everybody, but like majority of black men, black boys, that might be your only safe space, right? So he's going through it, and like his posture. I used to work with little boys, and you think about Miles's posture is very carefree, is very light throughout the whole movie. But when he's talking to his mom in that last scene, he's pacing, he's smacking his fist like this, he's taking them deep, like now I'm a man now breaths.
Yeah,
like if you've ever been in the presence, like I said, y'all know I worked in courts, I worked with teenage boys. If you've ever been in the presence of little black boys that have just recently went through some shit and they're trying to like regain a sense of control over their presence, that is like the exact posture. Somebody black was in there, was like, no, I need y'all to animate this right here. I need you to sound like this, Shamik Moore. Like it was chilling in that moment. And then in the very last moments, the last final spoiler for anybody that somehow is here that didn't watch, when other Miles took the hood off and had the ASAP Rocky braids, and I'm like, oh, y'all really about to try this?
Hey, you made something a joke real quick. Let me jump in. So, did y'all see the Atlanta episode about a Goofy movie?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my God. Was in there like, no, draw the knees like this. You got to move like that. I imagine it was an animator in there. Like, no, he got a pace like that.
They sent one of the white animators to a kickback. He got his ass beat, but he learned something.
He got his ass beat, but he learned his lesson, didn't he?
And like to okay, my one defense with Gwen though is like she's
save the Gwen because we'll get to Gwen in a second.
I do want it on record.
Hold up, I'm in the comments real quick. Let me get in this real. Let me get in this real quick. Hold on, bro.
It keeps changing. It's okay.
It's
all right.
This.
Is it?
It's us.
Okay, sure.
LeRon next.
But I said I said I was conscious. That counts as conscious. Damn.
Okay.
It is.
Right. Conscious.
Anyway, so Rio, aside from Hobie, which I'm gonna talk about Hobie later on, but aside from Hobie, Rio is my favorite character in this movie.
Who's Rio?
Because
Miles'
the mother.
Oh,
Miles' mother. Because that is my mom. That was my mom. Everything about her, from and going back to what Feek was saying about, black moms and they boys. And I'm gonna save my Gwen stuff for later, but I just want to point this out that you notice how, oh man, they just made her so black and so Latina. I love it because at every single cue, even when he was in the joint talking about college or whatever, it's that whole speech about, the reason why I'm so on you like this, the reason why is because, and this is it was almost word for word the speech that my mom gave me when I was about to leave, is the rest of the world don't love you. All right, because you're a black boy that's about to be a black. Well, I mean, we know black boys don't get to be boys anyway, but you finna go out into the world. That's why my mom didn't want me to leave. I went to college like 40 minutes away from the house, and even that was too far because it's there's only so much protection I can have on you, right? So that whole speech about, I'm your biggest cheerleader because the rest of the world ain't going to cheer you. I don't know how it is in other households, but in households of color, that's as common as the birds and the bees talk. Know what I mean? And this is all I'm gonna say about Gwen at this point is that oh my God, I love the interaction because it's like anything that she can find with Gwen, it's like, oh, that's a red flag. That's a red flag. Don't leave that white girl alone. Leave the snow bunnies alone. That's a black mom. That's a black mom because in the mind of a black mother, it's like, all right, do you understand what it means to love a black man, right? It goes beyond just, all right, we kicking it, we doing it, we bumping uglies and whatever, but do you know the social cues? Like, do you understand why we don't, when we see a trooper car coming up behind us, that we switch lanes real quick? Do you know why we cut down the other end? Do you know why we do certain stuff? Do you understand that? Can I trust you to put the vitality, the livelihood of my son, my only son, into your hands? Because as you being his significant other, that's what it means now, is that you're the number one woman in his life now, not me. So as a white, because we don't got time to teach you this. We don't got time to teach you all these social cues. We don't got time to teach you about about social awareness. We don't got time to teach you about blackness and all this kind of stuff.
Or the energy.
Right, or the energy. So why should we? So it's like, all right, it's cool and all that you well, I mean, they ain't get to the point of saying that they love each other, but we know that's gonna go at some point or whatever. So it's like, yeah, I'm gonna be tough on you. Yeah, I'm a pick you apart, because this literally could mean life or death for my son. And if something happens, if a body turn up, if the police get to him or whatever, you know what I mean? Can I trust you to not call the cops when y'all get into an argument? You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. Can I trust you? And
do you know how to de-escalate both?
Right.
Within this situation, out in the world? Yeah, I'll let Regis go, and I guess I'll let Turb jump in. We'll jump into Spider-Gwen conversation.
That's all I wanted to say about Rio, is that she is that is literally my mother. She is just the darker version of my mother. That is all, and I love her. I love her to death, because she is the blood. Even the she called me by my first name. She called me. We don't do that. We don't do even your.
Let LeRon jump in. Bill,
all right, go ahead.
Oh, I'm going tracking back and track to the whole Miles as the anomaly point that we've covered. It's like Miguel was so quick to immediately point Miles out for all the reasons that we recently discussed. Never in the entirety of the movie did he actually like realize. So when calling Miles the anomaly, when actuality the anomaly is like blaming him for a thing, like retroactively blaming him for the way things are. It's like, what about when Wilson turned on the activator the first time and allowed Spider number 42 to enter his universe? Right. You're going to blame a child for getting bit by this spider? Because I don't remember if Fisk turned it on once before the Chris Pine Spider-Man died. Which, fun fact, that Miles' Spider-Man was actually voiced by Chris Pine. It was like, I don't remember if Kingpin turned it on before he died, and then everything happened, and then Gwen and Peter B arrived afterwards. But either way, either way, it goes back. It also goes back into like the connection of white supremacy as urban color mind is also as also established as like being and like sticking to the system and looking for a scapegoat and using Miles as a scapegoat as it's the refusal of acknowledging certain situations that happen to marginalized individuals and blaming the individuals themselves as the reason why they have to perpetuate the status quo. Like he could have easily have stated like, yes, this spider wasn't supposed to be in your universe. It wasn't supposed to bite you, but it did. And now that it did, I now have something to blame my rage and my outlet on, as opposed to just like, well, let's departmentalize. Let's if it wasn't for X, Y, and Z, let's focus on X, Y, and Z, as opposed to saying if it wasn't for X, Y, and Z, you wouldn't be A, B, and C. And I just it was just one of those things. It's like you're gonna blame a child who was just casually hanging out with his uncle in a subway doing graffiti like you do. I know I definitely have hung out with my uncle doing graffiti in a subway in Detroit that does not exist. And I've been randomly bit by bugs. I've been stung by bees, and I've only recently gained an appreciation for bees because I know they're good to ecosystems. Wasps can eat a dick though, but bees are fine. And it's just like, what if that stinger was like, you're really going to justify these quantum specifics, especially since it established basically task force, and just looking for somebody to blame, to channel out your anger and the reason why things can't work out well for you the way it can for other people. It's pretty much I want things to be better for my children, except when they have a way better than I do, and now I'm jealous, so I don't want them to have that.
Right, like bro is forgetting the antithesis of Spider-Man. Like,
yeah,
genuinely, yeah.
So we got Turb, then Color Mine.
Yeah.
Turb,
are you gonna go on Gwen Turb? Because I've went the roundup on the Rio parenting. I want to like give a question.
I'll talk about Gwen next, but I liked what Lil Bill said about the family dynamic, because I have a lot of feelings about that, because this is the first time I really saw a movie capture the experience of a black boy's I guess internalizations of systemic institutions, and in the very first movie, right? We can already see that Miles is very comfortable in the situation he's in. He's going around, he's dapping up his friends. He's like, yo, what's up? All that shit, right? But it all dies when he gets put in a cop car and he's going to a charter school. It all dies. And it's purposeful, right? Like, even in the car, they have a conversation, and Miles is riding on his dad's car to the charter school, right? And as these kids are like coming up, taking photos of Miles in the back of the cop car, Miles starts like venting out frustrations, and he's pointing out how rigid the charter schools are, calling it elitist, and stating he'd rather be like at a normal school among the people. And while his dad is like elitist, the people, these are your people. And then Miles is like, I'm only here because I won that lottery, right? Then his dad's like, don't say that. You passed the entry test like everyone else. And then you see Miles like sighing visibly. You see him already having a contempt for this, for the system that he's put in, but also other people's internalizations of the system that they were placed in and pushing them on Miles. He has a lot of contempt for that too. But that leads him more to teeter towards his uncle, because his uncle is less structural, right? and his uncle is more carefree. His uncle is more willing to talk about the intricacies of exploitation within the system, whereas his dad Jefferson literally yells at him when he talks about how to lead us to school here. He's like, you have an opportunity here, you want to blow that, you want to be like your Uncle Aaron. And he acknowledges the effects of systemic racism through opportunities. Like he's selectively chosen to but he's selectively chosen to mitigate conversations of like trauma by shutting down his child's thoughts, right? And because anomalies like Miles are like manufactured instruments of Western policies and like regulations and like purposeful philanthropist rhetoric to like combat aspects of like
look what we're doing with these young Negroes here. Get a pamphlet, a website. Yeah.
Hey, let's let Think Piece jump in. He been throwing the contract for a minute.
I was literally just about to continue with Turboson because we see that in the second movie as well, and how his parents kind of feed into the system and feed into respectability politics as well. Because that scene with the counselor where she tells him that she's going to create this story based on Miles. Now she automatically assumes that they're poor immigrants. She literally said that they're poor.
We got a flat in Brooklyn.
I'm saying like we have a flat in Brooklyn, and she automatically saw that they were poor immigrants, and how Rio just like fuck it, okay, we're just gonna go with it, right? Like not even questioning what the hell she just said. Like what you just automatically assume about your son, about your entire family, this black and brown family. That is ridiculous.
How many of us on this panel have had that conversation with a guidance counselor before?
Yes,
like honestly, right?
I am a refugee. I'm a refugee though, so it's.
They know that about you. I got all they see for me. I remember when I was in high school, I had Nigerian kid grades. Right, like my parents beat my ass if I got a C. So I have a 3.7 coming out of high school. I go to my guidance counselor. They're like, "Oh, so are you gonna go to the community college of Baltimore County?" And I was like, "No, 3.7. I think I'm gonna try to go to the big flagship school." Yeah. They're like, oh, "Okay, cool. We'll write that down as a reach school." That like verbatim is what was said. And like, like not to like subtle flex or anything, but I got into all 8 schools that are major institutions that I applied to, right? So it's like, okay. But if it wasn't for the fact that I have West African parents who weren't gonna let me like who like Rio, right? Like Miles' father told me that they loved me and they knew what my ceiling was, I would have been like all my friends. To be fair, all my friends went to community college, and there's nothing wrong with community college, by the way. Like at that, like great way to save money. But like to be told that like that's like your ceiling. Right. When like you have an idea, even if it hasn't been proven to you, that you can go up higher, is what is the violence that system perpetuates. Right. It sets you up and puts you in a situation where you kind of exactly what Miles said. The scene right before I'm gonna keep calling him Spicy Miles, like Miles from Spicy Morales. 42 Miles.
That's his new name, 42 Miles.
42 Miles, yeah.
But he's talking to 42 Uncle Aaron and saying like, hey, back in my world, Aaron, like he was a bad guy, but I could tell he always wanted to be good, and like you have the chance now, and he's kind of like, oh god, did I lose my point? No, I haven't. Okay, he's like, I'm not good because of he's both like I'm not good. And we're sort of left to believe that perhaps Miles is also now not good because of the male influence that he's left with after not having a Spider-Man, which actually dovetails nicely into the thing that I wanted to talk about with the parenting of the adults in this movie. Because we have fathers in the stream. This gentle parenting, or how did y'all feel about the parenting of Rio? And why do I keep forgetting his father's name?
Jefferson Davis.
Jeff. Yeah. Because the one thing I think about is when Rio lets Miles go and they have that conversation. And now that I've viewed it twice, it's like maybe I'm projecting and saying like I could just never imagine my mom saying that, which is the point, right? Fantasy to say like this is how it looks to let a child go. But they're both Jeff's and Rio's sort of private hesitations of like, am I doing it right? Was that authentic? The private
So it's a couple things. One, the private lamentations of am I doing this right? Nigga. I know Bill will agree with me on that one. Like every third tantrum, every bad grade, every time they ask for something, you give it to them or you don't give it to them. You're like you run a fucking data analysis in your head about. There's a conversation I had with like a bunch of parent friends, and we basically said you really have no clue what your kids are going to talk about in therapy regarding your parenting. You have no clue. Because I'm sure all of us have went to our parents and said, hey, this thing fucked me up. And they were like, nigga, what are you talking about? You're fine. And like, I'm aware of that, but I still don't know. Perfect example. My youngest son had food poisoning a couple of months ago, right? And so he just came home from eating out one night and he threw up, ran a fever. We had to take him to the hospital. So we're parents, and it's never fun taking your kids to the emergency room, right? It's never like that never gets normal, but like we're parents. So like we've been in the ER before with babies, with toddlers, with small children, right? So we're like worried and making sure we're like paying attention, but we're like, yeah, this is, until the doctor comes and tells us something ridiculous, we've been here before. My oldest son had never experienced that at like a conscious level. He's been in the hospital before, been in there for his brother before, but like that was at like 6, at 5. You know what I'm saying? He was going on 10, right? And so he's seeing my younger son, his little brother, like, not looking so good and laid out in the hospital bed, et cetera, et cetera. And so he's kind of anxious himself. And we get through the night, right? From that day forward, my oldest son shit ain't going right. You know what I'm saying? He suddenly don't like school like he used to. He's complaining about all his friends. He wants, us to stay in there before he goes to bed, etc. Like all these things. And I'm like, what's going on? Why is he so upset? Why is he acting like this? Maybe we re-engage therapy. We try this, try that. Pep talk. And then like all of a sudden he just snaps out of it. And I'm like, okay, so hey, what's going on? First I give him a pep talk, like, hey, I want you to remember how you feel now and how you were feeling last week, so that you know that whatever it is you might go through, there's other ends to it. But like, what do you think it is? And he's like, yo, it was really scary when my little brother was sick. And I'm like, yeah, that was scary to you. You don't know what the fuck that feels like. That was terrifying to you. To me, it was hospital visit number 480. And so like to bring it full circle, when Miles is talking to his dad at the pier, and you see the way his dad is stressing over doing the right thing. Right? The only thing unrealistic is I just feel like cop dads don't act like that. I feel like cop dads are probably more prone to act like Gwen's dad at the beginning.
Right.
Well, my dad was a CEO, and I can tell you that, yeah, they don't act like that.
Right.
Nah,
So
they have no empathy whatsoever. Zero.
Yeah, so other than that is realistic.
Yeah. And I just want to add to what Color Mind said, specifically with like the gentle parenting thing. If I'm getting that connotation right, I'm just like making sure it's literal, right? Well, with parents that like I guess reinforce structural sense into their childs with like beatings and like hittings and punishments and things like that, you're never gonna have that conversation. Like I've never had that conversation with my mom actually. Like while I was maneuvering through the system and everything. And that seems kind of bizarre because y'all said like that's like Black people 101. That wasn't me, That was like I was getting beat. I was like, if I was getting 90,
beat was happening too. They time for the beats. Don't worry.
And as I was at like the only way I knew I wasn't getting beat that week is if I had 90s across the board, right? And that's what made me a token. That's what made me want to go to uni and things like that. Where I was like, at the end of the day, I just want to separate from this toxic experience of my parents policing everything I'm doing and like trying to mold me into something that I'm not. So I want to go to college. I don't want to live here. I don't want to. But the whole problem was our internalizations with the system, right? But my mom and I could never have that conversation because like she's stuck in her mindset. And she will beat the fuck out of me if I talk about it. So it's The reality.
The reality. No, Turb is 100% right. I also had that reality, and it's like the reality of finding out that that's been the reality for a lot of other Black folks has been eye-opening. Like, to the point where we are now at the point where we can make jokes about it based on shared traumatic experiences.
Yeah.
The whole aspect of like, this is how Black parents apologize. I'm about to go get some food. You want some food? Never saying I'm sorry, and never or just like never admitting that they were wrong, which is why it was so eye-opening to go back to the first movie, seeing that one scene with Jefferson, with Miles when he was tied up in the chair, actually like having that heart-to-heart, because like there are so many. This is a very important scene for not just Black kids, but also Black parents who found themselves subconsciously or actively, depending on how they were raised, bringing that trauma on some. That's how I was raised, so I'm going to raise my child the same way aspect to their parenting skills, and seeing that on the screen play out as if there's another way to do that. Once again, going back to the differences between Miles stepping out of the status quo and across the Spider-Verse, according to how a lot of Spider-Men are growing and experiencing things and being forced to relive these traumatic experiences.
Okay, I want to jump in because I'm gonna get my bread tube shit off once we start our Spider-Gwen talk. But I just want to say it's dope as hell that they made the Spot an interesting character, because I don't know how many of y'all remember his one episode from the 1990s.
Yes,
Spider-Man. He was like like they said, he was some villain of the week joke character. It ended with them having a conversation on the sidewalk. So that was just dope as hell. Man, what's my other take? But like I said, I'll get into
Mr. Freeze.
Because they put Spot in actually like one of the newer Spider-Man
was it spectacular?
It was not good.
Yeah, I'm too old for that. No. I gotta catch up. But before I get into the heavy talk, once we get to the Spider-Gwen, just also, I see what people are saying as far as Miguel should have talked about it and shit, but also that would have made the movie boring as hell. I like an interesting villain. I know y'all just like to do y'all bread talk shit, nigga, he needs to be a bad person. Ain't nobody going to see a movie where he talks.
He's not even a bad person.
Pal, listen, if you come over here,
I'm gonna save it, but
he needs to be a terrible villain like Thanos. The reason we like Thanos because people was like, I mean, half Earth is kind of fucked up. I can see why. I'm like I said, I thought this was like I'm doing my spoilers. We talk about whatever, and I'm like, also all the flaws y'all have. I'm like, literally, if they fix everything y'all talking about, it'd be the most boring as hell movie ever.
No, these are not flaws though. These
I don't even think
not flaws like what y'all pointing out, but everything that makes the people or what people are saying, like, Miguel, he's this,
but that's what makes it interesting.
That's what makes it interesting.
I'm just saying, like my criticism on like Spider-Verse isn't from like a place of contempt. It's from a place of like, wow, they really got these niggas right.
Right.
Like, they really got
I don't talk about shit I don't like.
Right.
Exactly.
I love a terrible, interesting villain. That's why everybody wants him to get Lex Luthor right. Because when Lex Luthor is written correctly, he's basically Batman, but said, you know what? Fuck it.
No.
Right? And that's compelling.
That's already Batman, though.
You know what? We're not starting that today. We're not doing it.
All right, so let's I'm gonna jump into some. I'm gonna start Spider-Gwen.
Let me say this real quick. It's literally going to be 2 seconds. So going back to what we were saying about the Black parenting thing. and it was wild. I don't know if y'all read I think it's called The Will to Change. It's a Bell Hooks book. But in one of the first chapters, she said that on the speaking tour she met and I'm like, I bet you that's how a bunch of other black fathers are. Well, millennial older ones, is because with my kids, what I tell myself is, what would my dad do? And then I do the complete polar opposite of that. So yeah,
it's the parenting thing is complex because so like I see a lot of myself in the decisions that Jackson is making because I have all the system analysis. I got all that shit. But I also know that my son is better at this school than this school. And that this hairstyle is as a -5 police detection debuff compared to this hairstyle. You know what I'm saying? And this little white girl that you're playing with, her parents got sense. And this one over here, I don't know if they MAGA fans. I don't know what they talking about. So we gonna play with this one over here. Like all these little things go through your head because at the end of the day, when you know the system is fucked up and you've made it as far as you have within it, your instinct as a parent is not to fight the system, is to prepare your child. And that is not always healthy or fair or functional. Let me give you a hug. You know what I'm saying? Like it's gotta, man, my son, we just came from swimming, but that's why I almost thought I was gonna be late. We came from swimming. My oldest son, he's good. My youngest son, not so much. And so they're trying to get him in the pool, and I'm like, "Ooh, I can just go push him." No, that's Trump. Let me not do that. Let me let somebody else.
Let me write that down because that was still in my book. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, you called it trauma. I called it life lessons. I was like, that's how I know how to swim.
No,
but you're right. You're right.
But yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, in my world, you push the little nigga in the pool because he'll figure it out. In a better world, you give him the tools and the support to figure it out with his like actual agency still intact. Now, push comes to shove, we will figure out other ways to incentivize that. I might say, look, the switch is not going to come back until we figure out this swimming situation. But at least he's not going to say, that my dad tossed me in the pool, I was crying. And like, I'm just trying to figure out what is my kid going to say. I'm trying to give him 0 bullets in the gun when he meets up with his therapist about me.
We are not baby birds.
Right.
Do not push us out of the nest. We might die. We probably will die.
Right. I
did almost die.
Right. There you go.
Getting the Spider-Gwen though, because the Spider-Gwen seems to be
what you talking about, this white woman.
To an extent.
Hey, let's go. Let's just go in order to make it easy. So the way it's on the board.
I'm just here to watch at this point. Y'all have these opinions of this white woman. Go ahead.
Okay. So
let's start with. Y'all, you want to start with FD or you want to start with Think Piece? I said we just go in order.
Okay. So I want to talk about Spider-Gwen by talking about how the writers specifically made the choice for Spider-Punk and Spider-Bite to help Miles out in that moment. Like,
I'll talk about this.
Specifically them. And hold on. I made this connection because Turk could probably tested this. Colomar could probably tested this. I don't know about y'all. Y'all are kind of old, but no offense. It's just like the young, it's just the way that the younger generation of Black people are like able to recognize the systems for what they are and actively find a way to go against it. Like I've interacted with so many people since I was like 13, where it's like we all just saw this shit for what it was, and we just was like, this shit is fucked up. Like this is not how things are supposed to go, right? And like especially like Spider-Bite's case specifically, because I mean Spider-Punk is a fucking anarchist communist, but Spider-Bite specifically didn't even know this nigga for more than a minute and helped him more than Peter B. Parker, Spider-Gwen, and the rest of these 200 plus Spider people.
Spider-Woman.
Right. And it kind of does speak to how bro, black woman will have our backs usually, and I say usually in this context because Jessica Drew, she was on fucking bullshit.
Madam Vice President Jessica Drew.
Right. Generational real type shit. Generational real. And like in that moment, she helped him out more than anybody. Didn't even know this nigga. Still helped him out more than anybody else though. I have people, I have black women like that in my life that like barely know me type shit, but like they'll write recommendation letters. They'll fucking help me out here, and there type shit. It's like that type shit. I made that connection. So I was like, bro, like that type shit. Someone was in the writing booth, said, hey, we're gonna have these 2 young niggas. They gonna help him out more than anyone else in there. And I don't know, like I don't know if that was the intent, but it probably was though, because that was too specific.
Yeah, we gotta go to LeBron. Well, I don't know. What is it?
You know, I can speak on Jessica Drew. I can speak on Jessica Drew for it's actually a story that I associate with
Kamala.
They say Jessica Drew was a talented 10th.
Hey yo!
So
who is Jessica Drew, y'all? Who's that?
Spider-Woman. It's Issa Rae. Issa Rae.
All right.
I have to change names in order for me to not get like legally like challenged. But at the beginning of the pandemic, I lost my job because I questioned why we at my old company couldn't work from home despite having all the means. My manager, the one who was above me, who hired and everything, was a black woman, Gen X, about in her mid 40s, closer to my sisters. I'm closer to my sister's age. She was surprised to hear the news, especially after finding out information for me regarding other competitors and why they were allowed to work from home, but we were not. I was specifically fired by the area manager, or whatever they're called, via phone call, and it was shared between my manager and myself. I went on to take legal action against my old employer over the course of the pandemic. And one of the main things that my manager told me, especially after having this rapport and, you know, working together and learning from each other and that she would have my back. If anybody has ever sought legal compensation for somebody who has wronged them, or at least a company, then you know that aspect is scary, especially when the company hires a lawyer to question you and basically gaslights you throughout the entire process. And it got down to the point of finding individuals who could testify about the situation, and she was one of them. From what I was told, she sided with the company despite the promises made to me, despite the camaraderie, despite us both being black and understanding the struggles. She sided with the company, and that resulted in my settlement being way lower than I was initially going for, and giving them probable cause to justify it. There is still that aspect of, I can't say all older black folk, but there are definitely those. When I heard Spider-Woman basically talk to Gwen regarding how she's, despite the camaraderie that she had with Gwen upon the recruitment and seeing the situations, how the whole aspect of, if you mess up again, I can't help you. That definitely reminded me of the situation. And there are and it even came up again, and especially when it came up again near the end of the movie. There is a degree and Fika, I'm pretty sure you, and I'm absolutely sure you covered a significant amount of this in a couple of your videos in the past. It's like there are some who will step up, but not completely, to make sure that they don't ruin anything for themselves.
Yeah.
And it took, and seeing Issa's take on Spider-Woman go through that, especially setting up the fact that she was pregnant and everything like that, and with that, the whole concept of not wanting to like even though being Spider-Woman has nothing to do with being pregnant, it was like just looking at it as in the metaphor of like this is her job and she's pregnant, and she kind of needs to hold on to this for the sake of like making sure that there's some sort of survival between her and her husband, even though that motherfucker's a doctor. There's definitely that combination of like, I'll go out of my way, but not too far to take myself out of the equation because I need this.
Because I need to survive.
Right. I gotta think about me.
Yeah, I'm next on the. Then we're gonna go down to Turd.
Now y'all can talk about this one.
I want to a little bit because I definitely did see that somebody said in the talented tent. That shit is real. Bellamy said something to me way back when about like basically we're all caught up in the system and niggas will do dirt to survive. Mm-hmm. And you kind of have to make decisions along the way of when you're going to uphold like principles and when you're going to self-preserve. And like you could see Spider-Woman, like there's that moment at the end where she looked away, she was like, yo, am I tripping? Like she's at that, and that's a moment like a lot of black folks will have, because I've had similar experiences to Think Peace, and I've had similar experience to LaRon, where it's like I've had black folks hold me down because they see the bullshit. I love, my favorite part of seeing the bullshit was how subtle Hobie, we're gonna get to Hobie later too, but like subtle is like, yo, stay calm. Did y'all catch that?
Oh yeah.
Well, actually, no. Wait, hold up. Actually, he says use your palms.
Your palms, yeah.
That's what I wanted to talk about.
He said it was still on the
right. He was like, he was saying, chill, nigga.
Well, no, he was saying like you can break it if you like, because it's a callback to before when
when they first met.
But the key is that, and like when we talk about, not to get too far into this, when we talk about how black folks create in-group, out-group dynamics, and it's not on some monolith shit, except for, can I trust you to hold that, to be on code in certain situations, or can I not trust you? And it's important. It's important to be able to identify folks who are not able to get on code. And a lot of folks don't understand that. And that was a perfect example. And it doesn't mean you can't get back to code, because I'm pretty sure Spider-Woman's gonna get back on code in the next movie, right?
Oh yeah, she don't have her coming.
And we understand why she was off code, but we still recognize the dynamic. All right, so Spider-Gwen.
Wait, can I get one? I want to do.
I jump in now, and then I'm gonna talk about how much I love this little swirl couple.
Simply want to bring up the idea before we start, because I'm not pro swirl, but I'm pro Gwen and Miles like right now. But I want to talk about the thing between white nicety versus black kindness, which is what I thought Think Peace was talking about, right? Because what you'll notice is that Gwen, tries to stop Peter from saving, Indian Spider-Man's dad for the Candyman, and says, and the first time through, you're like, no, it's too dangerous, and then you find out she was being nice by trying to have her cake. Yeah, by trying to have her cake and eat it too. Peter B. Parker comes up like with the baby head. Oh, I'm so happy to see you. I'm your mentor, and is slowly trying to incrementally walk him back into being in the canon, right? Meanwhile, when you see how Hobby acts, when you see how Spider-Bite acts, they simply see what actual help needs to be had to the person that's in distress and gives it to them. Hobby says, "Hey, I saw that you already kind of had this move before. You need to use your palms next time. I see you in trouble. I know you don't remember what I just told you. Use your palms." There's a point, especially between Spider-Woman or Daisy, Spider Isa and Hobby, where they're like talking to Miles, and Hobby says something off the cuff, and then Spider Isa's like, you're not helping, and he's like, I know. That's the difference between niceness and kindness, right? Like, he knows the actual help, the actual thing that's gonna make Miles better off. Spider Isa is like, this isn't polite, and it's that very much like northeast, like white privilege racism thing that I think is very what's that word, topical to talk about now, because that's what we deal with, right? The idea of like, I went to PWI, plenty of nice non-black friends and people that I had around me, but to what Feek said, there was a code, and that code of black kindness, I'm gonna call it, is you can't find, you have to make sure you find it, and you can get on that code, but it's necessary to our, I even say, survival.
Right. So all of that, Bellamy is dragging me in the chat, as is her.
And I'm finna drag you on the stream.
All right, but Pete, hear my take.
Same here.
So I understand why y'all are mad at Gwen, and you should be mad at Gwen. I am not here to defend Gwen's actions, but what I love about this, about the way they've done their relationship, is two main things. So first off, we all know that like interracial relationships are clearly a commodity in like liberal media. Motherfuckers love. You can't watch a commercial. I think they did a study where they said that there is a clear like overrepresentation of interracial relationships in the media versus how them existing in real life, right? And when they do it, 8 times out of 10, it's either like completely divorces itself from real world dynamics of race, or it makes race its entire purpose for existing. But in a
Kenya Barris has entered the chat.
Or it makes race its entire purpose existing without really making it nuanced and useful, right? So what I loved about this is, and Bill just kind of solidified it. When you have interracial couples presented in the media, and there's not an understanding. When I say interracial, I'm really talking about black and white, and almost always black men and white women, because that's like the media loves that shit. I love that Gwen fucked up, and that she had to recognize and own her fuck up, because that never gets depicted. When interracial relationships exist in the media and they fail around a racial issue, it's almost always a both sides situation, where the outside world doesn't understand our love and it's making us not get together. Again, the Kenya Barris just did a movie about it, and it was like, well, you know, it's like that's not really getting it.
Y'all know I got a cape for Kenya. That's literally all romantic comedies.
I mean,
they have terrible writing. All right,
whoa! Because I'm a cat for rom-coms.
That's why I got.
Rom-coms do not have bad writing.
But I'm just speaking to this trope. So just to kind of wrap it up, what happened here is an example of how, and I know we're interracial couples, and almost each one of them will tell you about a moment where the white person in the couple had to learn a black code. But we've never seen that depicted in media before like this. Is my thing. I love that they showed her fuck up and recognize, oh shit. Well, hopefully eventually recognize, right? Oh shit, I was off code and I need to fix this. Because otherwise, it's like the only problems that interracial couples deal with is external racism or, cultural differences. No, as Bill said, Black parents, Black mothers, when they look at these children that they don't know, I don't know if you have an understanding of the dynamics of this person's existence in humanity. And this is as good an example of that as I've ever seen. I'm done.
Okay, all right. Yeah. I'm gonna say first of all, like white women can, I'm saying in Gwen's situation, just like Fick, white women could very much get away with like their fuck up just by feigning ignorance. Like we seen the Taylor Swift shit. Lonnie is doing a video on
making a video. That shit will drop on June 10th.
Yeah, they could. Yeah, most of the time, white people could just feign ignorance to systems of priority and still benefit from them, or like not receive any repercussions. The difference with this is we see this white woman doing this fuck up, and we're calling it out, right? And niggas are calling it out. Like Black people are calling it out. So I don't want to undermine that and say like y'all don't need to be mad. But like to be devil's advocate, like I love Gwen. Like, and I will get into why I love Gwen. I love Gwen because like specifically when we talk about her connection to, I guess, structural oppression, like Gwen was 15 years old when she saved a dude, then her dad pulled a gun on her. And she had nowhere to go.
Her Miranda rights.
A 15-year-old like a 15-year-old trans kid gets pulled a gun on by like her dad, and then she gets accepted by this person. So she already has a recollection, not of white supremacy, but the system of the Spider-Verse, right? She has a trust in the system of the Spider-Verse because the system of white supremacy just didn't do it for her in that way, right? She got a gun aimed at her. So she fell in love with, I guess not fell in love, but fell in realization with that system, the system of the Spider-Verse. And because of that, she heavily relies on Miguel O'Hara and the other people of the Spider-Verse to, I guess, solidify her internalizations of justice within her actions. And like, first of all, I don't want to say like she was the last to catch on, right? Like Hobby caught on like 30 minutes into the movie type shit. Like, and Spider Bite, all these other people were catching on. Even the Issa Rae character in her own right, I feel like she did catch on, but she just was feigning ignorance. Like there, a lot of characters caught on like quicker than Gwen, but Gwen had to go through. Gwen, like a lot of people, right? We can recognize their systems of structures, but it's how we act on them. Right, you can't just you can explain someone racism, you can explain someone like the cops suck, ACAB, all this shit, but like they're still gonna move in the system, right? The average nigga is still gonna move in the system. Like, well, not the average cracker is still gonna move in the system, even if
you can't say that on stream, turd.
Yeah, guys, we're gonna get banned. We're gonna get
the average Ritz. The average Ritz. There you go.
Yeah.
We're not on Twitch. You can still say
the average. They gonna do this, right? They still gonna move within the system of white supremacy. So like with Gwen, like she had a really transform. This kind of makes me mad because this is like they put it at the very end of the movie. Like she had a very like the whole movie she was an op, so I could see why y'all was frustrated. But at the end of the movie, she had a very transformative experience where she like goes to her dad and she's like, "Hey, I don't want to wear this mask the way you wear that badge." You know, like she realizes at this point that her actions are policing Miles and policing the other spiders around her in the same way that her dad was policing her, right? And she doesn't want to put that experience on anyone, but she needed to go through like these traumatic ass experiences. And I'm not saying people need to go through these traumatic ass experiences, but I'm saying like Gwen still like at the end of the day decided to oppose the system when she realized the Spider-Verse system is so much more interlinked with her, I guess, qualms with white supremacy than she thinks, right? And I think that's a beautiful arc. I think they did it beautifully. I just think they should have done it like midway into the movie or something because it was a little weird. Yeah.
I mean, like, but that's the pacing that they have for the movie, right? I guess hindsight's always 20/20 because I bet we'd be even madder if they because some people are like, oh, they cut the movie. I don't know why they put the to be continued where they did. We could have done it right after we realized that Miles was in the wrong timeline. But this entire thing with Gwen is right, exactly. Like for me personally, anyway. But Gwen is supposed to be there for the liberal, chronically online person to be like, hey, you know how when you were 15, you really liked Law and Order and thought the cops were like the best thing ever? You can fuck up. Just like make sure once you get right, you are on. You're moving with more intentionality. Your worldview has been updated, and you're moving that way. So it's like I kind of see going on the chat too. Like ultimately, this entire conversation is like we're supposed to be mad, and then you're supposed to also get the catharsis of like, okay, character growth happening. So the conversation we're happening is, I feel like, part of the art, just to also make sure that like when I see people usually really just on Twitter, not in real life, being like Gwen is a Fed, or Gwen deserves to be locked up. Her dad should have ended it there because she was 15.
Whoa!
I saw that on Twitter.
Oh, that's wild.
Wait. I thought Gwen was like 17, 18.
No, she was in
I
high
thought
school.
she's the same.
Remember?
I assume she's the same.
She went to
age
high
as
school.
I thought
when
she was a
got
year
shit
older
on
than
universe.
Miles.
Yeah,
It's
the
the
whole
age.
something like that.
yeah, the whole thing, like
You're muted, Feek.
the whole thing, it was like everything that happened between the Vulture and everything happened technically before the last scene in the first Spider-Verse. It was like that because that explained how she was able to go back and visit Miles. So it's like all that happened when she went back to her universe at the end of the first Spider-Verse movie.
Yeah.
So one thing
We
somebody
still
said.
conching or
Yeah, I
Let
was
me
about to say.
get this joint in,
All
and we're gonna do Bill then John. So the one thing is that somebody said white people using black people's experiences as learning experiences. Like I think that's exactly what this was.
Mhm.
I guess for me, they finally did it in a way that was less exploitative, where it was like honed in on this is the thing y'all motherfuckers do. You know what I'm saying? Because usually when that trope occurs, they're the star of the movie.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They're the they're the protagonists. Versus now we are in the position of the protagonist and we get to look. I love the scene when he says, y'all too, and he looks at Gwen and she can't even look him in the eye.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because now she knows that she's been she has to acknowledge, and then the viewer has to acknowledge that she was an op the whole time. And yeah, I just appreciate that. I just appreciate one, good storytelling, and two, that they elevated the trope. You know, Bill.
I'm gonna say now. First of all, let me say this: is that I'm not anti-Gwen. I appreciate the art. I appreciate the. It's a real like in one of my. I don't remember what video it was, but
That's how it goes.
that nigga's going.
Yep.
Oh, here you go.
The police come to get him anyway. So I talked about how the first Black Panther movie is all T'Challa's fault, right?
He's putting on a hat.
But
put on a hat.
I knew that's what you was
Literally came out of the frame just to clown your ass. I love it.
So I said that the movie was all T'Challa's fault, but it served for character development. By the end, he realized that the old way wasn't doing it. That wasn't it. You know what I mean? He was still on his, talented 10 stuff by the end, but whatever. Point is, he learned his lesson. I appreciate that Gwen learned her lesson, but why at the expense of a Black life? You know what I mean? What if Miles wasn't able to break out of that containment thing? You know what I'm saying? Why do Black people have to be in danger for white people to learn the code? You know what I'm saying? Why can't y'all just listen when we're telling you? Why do y'all take it upon yourselves to say, I know better? Because for the whole duration, and I love Hobie, man. We gonna talk.
I'm saying.
But what
I'm saying is,
clock that T. Clock it.
It's. I love how one of the first things once they get out of they saving Spider-Man India and they come back to Spider-Fair HQ or whatever. I love how one of the first things Hobie says to Gwen is, "Did you tell him? Did you tell him his role and all this?" She said, "Oh, well, I don't know how," and I forget exactly how he says it, but basically he's like, "Well, when you gonna do it, right? Why do you?" And it drives me insane how because it's just another manifestation of the white savior mentality that I know better than niggas what's best for niggas. I'm going to withhold this pertinent information concerning your role in all of this, your role in the grand scheme of things, because I don't think you can handle it. You feel me? I'm going to withhold. I'm going to side with despite the fact that I have sat here, and this isn't just Gwen, because it's not just Gwen. I'm talking about Peter too. I have sat here and I have watched you save the multiverse once. Mm-hmm. I have seen you break canon before, but I'm still saying within myself that I know better than you. You cannot break, even though you already did it. You already did it. My white savior mentality tells me that I know better than you. So just listen to what I'm saying. Why do I have to be in peril for you to listen? You feel me? That's the problem that we always run into is it's always niggas losing their lives before white people get it.
Yep.
You feel me? Why can't y'all do that beforehand? Before somebody gets shot by the police, before George Floyd gets choked out, before Ahmaud Arbery is running, down in white people, you feel me? White trash country yokel people is following him in their pickup truck. You feel me? Why do y'all have to see the death to realize, oh, something's not, oh, well, maybe we should have listened to the black folks. Oh, I'm sorry, black man, as he's laying in his casket. You feel me? So I'm saying, as a nigga that has seen what happened firsthand, have witnessed folk get put in the back of police cars, and you don't see them again for years because somebody was not on code. You understand what I'm saying? I can't tolerate it. You feel me? I gotta keep my until I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you're gonna listen when I tell you what to do. Until I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you got the code. And going back to what I said earlier about Rio and tying this back into Kenya Barris, and I'm gonna talk about this later. That's the thing that I hated about you people so much, is that the way that it's portrayed is like this reverse racism kind of, oh, well, black people don't understand white people don't understand. No, it's not the same. Listen, for the white folks that's watching right now, the reason why we consciously avoid, you feel me, when we say, oh, okay, I'm not going to date white people, or I'm going to stay within race. The reason why we do that is because there are certain things that, like I said in my punk video, the reason why I never joined the band with white boys is because there are certain things that we just cannot do around y'all and expect the same outcome. We cannot expect the same results. So y'all go ahead and y'all act the fool and y'all cut up or whatever. You know who's going to get in trouble? The one that
the one nigga in the band.
The one nigga in the band is the one that's going to get in trouble. So we literally cannot afford that. And so for interracial relationships to be portrayed as folk just not understanding each other is disingenuous. The reason why we consciously choose not to enter into interracial relationships is because it's a survival tactic. We're preserving ourselves because we cannot trust y'all and we don't have the time or the energy to teach y'all how to keep code. So that's my problem. I will end on this note. My problem with Gwen is the same problem I have with Peter. It's not Gwen specifically, but it's the fact that y'all knew this boy from jump. Y'all knew him from rip, but it took two niggas that did not know him for a full day to instantly say, all right, everybody get on cue. Y'all know what we finna do. It's going sideways. Y'all ain't pick that up.
Let's get to John, and then I'm gonna let Stink Peace put his hat on.
This nigga was absolutely spin just now.
Wait, no.
My
that's John.
That nigga, I'm telling you, this nigga spin.
I got.
I want to address. Let me address the chat. They had questions about Turf thing. People were asking did they miss any transcoding. He's probably talking about fan theory because they changed the animation style. So the thing about good art is 5-10 people could look at it and they're going to see something different. So I didn't necessarily see that with Gwen's character, and that's kind of my part. So I didn't see that, but I guess I can see how some people see it. But yeah, it comes from a fan theory because they drew her in a different way. I just think that's how they drew her. What is it?
There's also a poster. Later? There's also a protected trans kids.
Yeah, it was. I put it like this: if y'all think an Irish cop from New York is going to have a trans daughter, and that's not going to be a major part brought up, he would. If you I'm just saying that would have been
badge too.
She would have dipped out that house earlier. So that kind of goes into my part.
I think that's they're not going to make it explicit, and that's not that's not canon. But I think they purposely coded her that way.
Okay, I'm about to get into it because that's what I was saying about the metaphor. So Gwen's parents, as far as me, her dad is the more realistic depiction of a father. For one, her mother isn't in the movie, and if you notice, they never acknowledge that. So if you had a parent or parents like Gwen, that's how it goes. Shit like that is not acknowledged. They just kind of pretend it never happened. So the part about we can call her coming out. So if you all haven't checked out my quote video, I'm not going to go through it, but I have a similar experience to Gwen. So the group I left, we call it the waking up, or we call it what woke you up, or something like that, or coming out. So it's a discussion that she has with Miles, and he's like, I think I should tell my parents. She's like, no, don't do that. Yep. I've had little discussions like that because, like Gwen, it's people in movies. You think like, oh yeah, you tell your parents how you feel, and they going to talk about it like how Miles had that fantasy. Yeah. At least from my experience, the group I came from, 95% of the chance it happens like Gwen at the snap of a minute. Your parents like, all right, well, you don't believe what we believe in. That's over. To the average person, that doesn't sound believable. But like I said in my video, since 2018 to 2019, the last time I had a sit down meal with anybody in my family because I left the group. So I see why people could say they see trans or queer coding, but to me, it's similar to what happens when you leave a high control group or a cult. It's no discussion about it. It's like, okay, well, you don't want to go with this. He still has the gun. And she like, you gonna do your own child like that? So when her and Miles had that discussion, in one of the Reddit groups, people will be like, yeah, I think I'm gonna tell my parents I don't believe this. I don't want to go anymore. And us that experience, like, listen, you 19 years old, you need to, worst case scenario, have money to move out because you literally will be put out depending on how much your parents believe that. Like, it's not something that you only see in movies. Like, it's hard for people that haven't lived through it to understand, but like, no, I tell them, like what Gwen told them, like, no, don't do that unless you are ready to pack up right now. Like, that really happens in real life. So like I said, the metaphor thing, I can see why people interpret it different ways. I just interpret it as just coming out in general in a lifestyle that your parents don't agree with. And if you're not ready to hide that part. So like she said, I hid this thing about me for a year. For other people, they might have been hiding that thing about them since they were 14 and now they 19, you know? But think piece is up.
Yeah, think piece.
Oh, I was literally just gonna talk about what Lil Bill was talking about with what was he talking about with Spiderman, pretty much, and how really like Hobby that had that the main person that had his back, because when Spider-Gwen and Hobby talked, it was like, oh, did you tell him? And she was like, oh, no. And then Hobby just went straight to it, had a one-on-one with that man, told him everything that was going on, say, hey man, why don't you make your own watch? You don't need to be with these niggas and shit. Like, he had a heart. He really did have a heart-to-heart convo with that man and told him what the hell was really going on here. And if you watch the movie again, as he's telling him this, he is taking parts from Miguel O'Hara's workplace and making his own watch that he gives to Spider-Gwen at the very end of the movie. It's like that type. Yeah.
Let's save Hobie. I fucking love that.
Yeah, let's fucking
Hey, I want to say before we did at the end, can we do our predictions for the sequel also?
I love that too.
I got one more thing to say though about this Gwen situation.
And then we gotta let Hero come in because Hero just got here.
Yeah. Hi, Hero.
What's up, here?
Oh, extra CP time, but what's good?
No.
Go ahead, sir. Let's her finish this thought.
Yeah.
Oh, word. Okay, with Gwen and white, basically whiteness in the system of white supremacy and how I guess white people try to help black people. Like I'm not playing devil's advocate, right? And I'm not saying this is justifiable. I'm just saying this is basically real life shit. This is what happens in systems of white supremacy, where it's like if you're a token and there's white people in power, you got to play respectability of politics to appeal to them so they help you, right? And like that was a thing that Gwen did not understand with Miles, because Gwen very easily got into the charter school. If you remember, if you remember, Peter Parker said there was only one Spider-Man in that universe, meaning Gwen hasn't even saved a life yet. You know how fucking quick she got in that school? You know how quick her whiteness allowed her to get in that school? Like that's wild. Well, Miles had to do a whole lottery system, entry essay, all that shit. And Gwen just got in like that after switching dimensions. So like as Gwen is meeting Miles and talking to Miles, I think Gwen has a reiteration of respectability politics, especially with interacting with the Black people in this school. Like she's never really been around Miles's home life and like talked to Miles that empathetically or deeply about institutional issues. Although you could say Hobie Brown, definitely, because like definitely Hobie Brown.
You know, Hobie was giving her the food flux. So like, you gonna sit on my couch? Here, read the pressure of the earth real quick.
If you're gonna take my shoes,
But that's another. I want to talk about Hobie's amazing, but like I'm gonna keep it with Gwen first. So while Gwen was I guess getting acquainted with Miles and they were developing feelings for each other, one thing about love that they don't tell you is in a interracial relationship, you have to talk about racial issues. You have to talk about your experience with racial issues. You have to talk about their experience with racial issues. You have to talk about your recollection of racial issues. You have to talk about what happens with like how you shut down around certain amounts of things and things like that. But Miles didn't, and Gwen didn't, right? They both didn't. They entered a patriarchal relationship basically, right? And that inherently in an interracial relationship just teeters towards respectability politics for the Black person, right? Like that happens all the time. So Gwen, to the best of her ability within the system of white supremacy, she was trying to help Miles. But obviously this isn't the help that like we because we have a experience in the system of being consistently oppressed and knowing that you can't just climbing the ladder and being accepted as like a 1% isn't really a method of help, right? But Gwen thinks it is. And Gwen thinks, hey, I can take this person and put him in the Spider Society. I can argue with Miguel O'Hara and try to help him. And that's a lot of
that's why I love it, because it's so realistic. These are like everything Bill said. I'm sorry, just real quick. Everything Bill said is completely accurate, and they portrayed that perfectly, and they never do in the media. And like Turb just hit it on the head. Like she thought to herself, basically, I can fix not him. Well, I can fix him in service of the status quo. I can make my one Negro make it. And sometimes they can, right? We see a lot of these Negroes run the game with their white counterpart, and they become the token. But like they never depict why that doesn't work in reality, unless it's way over the top where people don't see themselves in an interaction. My bad, sir. Sorry.
And just to close it off, I was saying like Spider-Gwen in that moment, in that transformative moment, finally realized it's the system that's what's like fucking us up right now, right? And I'm not saying like white people like all. I hope they all have traumatic experiences so they relate to Black people. Obvious, like if that's what it takes, awesome. I hope they all get fucking. No, I can't say that, but but like
you already said the C word. You might as well.
No, don't say it.
Right.
Yeah. But like in the situation, like I kind of get how like this 15-year-old trans kid is trying to maneuver through the system best she can, still trying to help Miles and the people around her, and then coming to a realization. Because when I was 15, I was the C word, COON, like raccoon. I was a raccoon all the way till my first year of university, right? I didn't have that recollection at 15, although I knew like the police were ass and like systems of racism were bad. I didn't have that whole leftist abolitionist mindset yet, right? I was just like, oh, these police are taking away all my cousins and shit, like, right? That's a bad thing. But like I wasn't really like in a mindset of like, oh, it's the Western system of priority. Maybe because I'm a refugee and it's a very isolated, tokenized experience. But like to that extent, like I empathize with Gwen, if that makes sense.
Real quick before I let Hero jump in, I don't know exactly what's going on in the chat. I don't think anybody on the platform is saying that the transcoding for Gwen is non-existent. I see it very easily. I think everybody has agreed with that. What John was getting at is that his experience of coming out which has nothing to do with being trans, is just as valid. And that's the first reaction he had. Because I didn't notice the trans coding until I saw Jesse Gender tweet about it. That is a normal thing.
Yeah, I didn't notice it either.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if that's just actually in the chat, but I just want to clarify that for the folks. Oh, it was in the chat? Okay, all right, cool. All right.
And to add on to John's as far as like the cult mentality, I don't know who needs to hear this, but there is a line that also kind of qualifies, and it all depends on the organizer, not the doctrine. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. There you go. That's what I'm going to say.
All right, Hero, it's on you, man.
I know I'm late, so I'll just hit the bullet points that I thought the movie was great. Animation was crazy. I actually did kind of in regards to allegory for Gwen to like just being trans. Like I remember kind of sitting in the theater and like, you know, I already saw the clip with her in her room and it having the Protect Trans Kids sign in there. But I thought it was cool. I thought the scene looked cool when she was talking to her dad and just having that whole speech and coming out. But it wasn't until like they hugged it. I was like, oh, that's interesting that they chose those colors. It kind of reminds me of the trans flag. And I was like, wait, was that on purpose? But yeah, I thought there was a lot of really interesting dialogue that they were having in there. I saw some folks that were trying to say that it wasn't propaganda, you know, to have both Miles' dad and Gwen's dad just kind of be decent enough cops in the first place. And that, you know, it's just more realistic that way. But even that one line that Miles' dad left,
this is why don't nobody like us.
Yeah, this is why nobody like us. Right. Miles turned around and was like, "We like." What you mean, we? What you mean, us? Like, I ain't involved.
I'm the neighborhood friendly Spider-Man.
Right, yeah, I don't know about all that now. I don't know about all that. And I saw some folks try to argue that like Spider-Man's kind of a cop anyway, but like I don't know, man. I feel like there's a fine line between. You know,
Batman is more of a cop than Spider-Man.
Yeah. We're not starting that. We're not starting that.
I'm the I cape for Batman, so y'all don't start that shit.
Spider-Man has always been anti-establishment. That's Spider-Man.
We will save the "Is Batman a fascist?" Yes, for Bill.
Yes,
another time.
I am sick.
Hey, real quick,
y'all.
Billionaire in a parenthesis.
God.
Let me drop my.
How do you become an ethical billionaire, Bill?
A 10-second piece. Also,
he's not even a billionaire anymore. He's broke as.
Hold on. Wait a minute.
We've successfully thrown the conch away. The conch is on fire. It is in the trash can.
All right, John. Let me get back to the Hero. Then we're gonna do John and then.
No, I just got a 10-second part. I was gonna say Gwen's, like I was saying, everything can be interpreted differently. Her piece can also be interpreted as how white liberals they'll put a black screen or a Black Lives Matter or it's Pride Month, but then when it comes down to it, they flip the script. So it can always be interpreted as she does have a protect trans kids, but when it got down to it, she's like, all right, we got to stop Miles, you know. So I just feel like that, it could also be interpreted as she's what we call it. Y'all call it performative wokeness or something like that, or whatever they call it. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, with art, everything can be interpreted differently. Because, like, some people probably looking like Miles, you looking up to your uncle, and he didn't have a good side. That nigga seemed to really like being a criminal.
I was thinking that too. I love a problematic uncle, but I'm not gonna lie on that nigga in public.
Yeah,
because I set somebody up. Oh yeah, my uncle's got a good heart. Like, all right, he got a good heart. He gonna have your good China.
He gonna have your good heart.
He gonna have a lot of good stuff. You got. He gonna have a lot of. I did think it was kind of interesting that they like gave his uncle a mural, even though like he was out on these streets doing God knows what.
Well, nobody. You gotta remember, nobody knew but Miles though. You gotta remember, nobody knew he wore a mask all the time. Nobody knew he was in the streets like that.
I actually thought it was more interesting that in the 42 universe that the cop got the mural. I'm like, wait, who is Who commissioned this?
It's the same thing. It's the same thing as when your cousin.
We on Bill, and then we got to go to the think piece.
But I was just gonna say the same thing as when your cousin get caught with a pack or something, and then he wind up doing 5 to 10, and they saying free my nigga Pookie.
Yes,
he got caught. He did it.
Yeah.
It's the same. It's the same exact thing. What you mean?
He
Free
did that
Pookie?
shit.
Pookie doing his time. He shouldn't have got caught. He got caught lacking. It is what it is. So I see. This movie is so black.
Yeah,
that's exactly what happened.
It's black as fuck.
That's
Think piece,
exactly
and then
what
I'm tagging in.
happens.
Think piece.
I got after for you.
All right. We pulled the conch out the trash can.
I was about to say. I'm on my tongue something else.
Nice.
Because we fucking lost the plot.
Yeah.
I started thinking about Batman and I fucking one scene and the goddamn Harley Quinn animated show where like she asked younger Bruce Wayne, "Have you ever thought about putting affordable housing in Gotham?" He's like, "What's housing?" Like,
I'm
tagging Think Piece out because I don't want to trigger Bill.
I'm finna get up. I'm already triggered.
I'm sorry.
Hey, me and Bill slide to Batman though.
One thing I like as we're going around conversations with Gwen and and Uncle is like this movie does a great system analysis argument because the reason why I cried at 42 Miles was because he took the mask off and he had a flat affect. And the first thing that Miles noticed when he got there was he looked around and he saw like 42 Miles' situation without Spider-Man is off the chain. It looked like Mad Max's fires in the background and shit.
Yeah.
So I can imagine in that world they might like put a cop mural on there because maybe his dad was super cop and the streets was too wild for them to handle. But but like I hope that, and well, I saved this for I'll save most of this later. But I hope that they get into that dichotomy, the difference between Miles going into a life of criminal lifestyle, whatever, versus Miles becoming a hero at a charter school or doctor or Spider-Man, is the structure and the opportunity. There's the opportunity structure around him. Because like the coldest shit was that he was like, yo, they're going to kill our dad. And 42 Miles said, not my dad.
I'll say,
yeah.
That shit hurt. That shit hurt.
But I've heard that conversation in real life. And niggas don't understand when you get these little boys, like most of us on here are privileged in some form or fashion compared to the types of boys that can't be on YouTube right now, right? When you talk to them boys directly and you want to judge their behavior, their criminality, their decision making, you know what I'm saying, personal responsibility ass face niggas, you hear the reality come through their mouth. My nigga, I do not fucking care. I'm trying to survive. I don't have the choice, the choices you had. I don't have the opportunities you had. My dad ain't here. My uncle was here, and we had to eat. What did Uncle do as soon as Miles stepped out the room? He broke her off. Y'all peeped that?
Yeah.
He said, "Yo, this is for you. Don't worry about it." Man, listen. I'm sorry. I don't know what the fuck we was talking about. Who was up next?
This movie is so black.
Too black.
Colorblind wanted to go next.
I also lost the plot too. Someone else who
my bad.
We all lost the plot.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only 10 minutes left. Let's get to because I gotta I gotta get a video. I'm going on vacation. I gotta get this video out by Monday.
Well,
same here.
Well, actually, let me take my spot back to say, can we talk a little bit about music? How'd y'all feel about the soundtrack?
Oh shit, we gotta talk about Hobie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, fuck that. Yeah.
Hold on, you start. I guess you start.
All right, cool. So one Hobie.
Well, I'll be right back.
All right, so one Hobie. Actually, I'm gonna attack from the shallow point first. Let's talk about the animation. The animation fucking spectacular. Obviously, it is like he's lead single type character. Everybody's come out the theaters like, wow, I fuck with him the most. Interesting things about him is that like he was, I don't know how much you guys are into animation, but like his body was animated on 2s, but his vest was animated on 3s. That's why it had this little like jaunt to it. And like to make a very interdisciplinary point, his look is almost like jazz and punk. insofar that like the way he's edited has
it is
kind
punk.
a jazz like syncopation to it. Like he lilts and walks like no one else in the story, right? And that's so eye-catching. And I'll start with the superficial point that like his animation as storytelling. I forgot what they call that in game, but like the Ludo narrative of the way he walks around and how, he is literally so inconsistent, or let's say so adverse to consistency that his own form is not consistent, which then allows him to see things that other people can't see.
He doesn't
believe why he's always around, like able to basically make the best of whatever he's given. I guess if we go back to 42 Miles, like in that same way, how circumstances of survivability can push you to be greater than other people, right? Like I always think back to when Hobie was like, build your own, and like we threw it away. We're like, oh, I mean, but I just want the one that comes that I can get from my job from the company. And for me, when he first said that, I took it as a really good counter to the idea of the elite talented 10th. When like I don't believe in the talented 10th, but the true talented 10th are niggas in the mud, right? It's Metro Boomin having to make beats off of a burnt laptop and a pirated copy of Fruity Loops, right? You know, and so like when he says that, what I actually heard, and maybe it's because I identify with that, with the way that I grew up, where it's like I thought we're all here because we're the smartest people, y'all. We can just make our own thing, right? I thought y'all were already thinking about making your own little device, and that's why it comes back, because like his idea is to show that how do I want to put it? Like your independence doesn't have to be libertarian, right? Independence can be community based, can be collaborative based, and you can just protect your own because no one else is looking out for you. Yeah, and like and then more punk rock than that.
Yeah.
Turb, I saw Turb first.
Yeah. I gotta leave real quick, so I'm just gonna say like a couple lines and then like dip. But like what Color Mine was saying, I just want to add to like that point, not about hobby, but just that point about the most talented niggas I've ever seen have like $200 laptops, bro. They have like 3 cans stacked up on like a phone, and they're editing shit on TikTok, right? Just editing anime copy. Like I'm telling you, like there's so much talent out there that's like not really being like delved upon. And I know this because my first laptop was $300. I got it off student loans. I was stacking my cans on top. This was a year ago. Now I have an Apple laptop and shit, all because of this YouTube stuff. But like I'm just saying, like anyone out there, if you are a struggling artist, you struggling right now is not the peak of
don't gotta be the peak.
That's all I'm saying. Okay, word. I'll see y'all. It was nice talking to y'all. And Gwen is the second best character in the Spider-Verse.
Cat.
That's how you.
I gotta get tomatoes in the chat.
I gotta give a third.
Ooh, tomatoes,
I can't get over Miles.
Second best.
He knew exactly what he was
Somebody
doing.
get back on. Get back on.
Exactly.
No,
Bellamy, get him in the Discord right now. Get him in the Discord.
Love you, Turb.
Big pieces on you. Love Turb. Shout out to Turb. In the chat. Love for Turb in the chat. All right, go ahead.
So hold on.
Top of the bonnet, no.
Hold on, bro. Cause like,
that's wild.
Cause like Hobie's, cause like I saw this on like on TikTok and like Twitter once I like did research on like the movie and whatever, and people asked like, why did Spider-Punk even join the society in the first place? And they said, and like an interesting thing I saw was like he was waiting on someone like Miles to come in, someone that is that anomaly, that like breaks the status quo, that comes in and changes everything. Like he was waiting for something like that to really break the mold. That's why when he told Jessica Drew, like, you know, like, you're not helping, like, good, like he's been waiting on some shit like this. That's why he joined the society. And also that line about when Miles asked him that too, he was like, I have to look out for my drummer. He was actually talking about Spider-Man. I'm trying to actually look out for her too, even though she's not telling you certain shit. I still gotta look out for her type shit. That's like because like that's the game. Yeah.
I love no, actually no, because who got some Hobie love?
I got all the Hobie love. I got all.
I thought we should let you go last. No, go ahead, Bill.
All right, no, go ahead. Y'all can let me go last.
Bill, I didn't know Bill was a punk, but it makes so much sense now that Bill was.
You know, and I want to get it on wax thanks to Little Bill for putting me on Black punk music after this movie. Like the way I spent the last 48 hours listening to Bad Brains t-shirt on, repping, listening to Bad Brains, listening to
But those who want, first off, Lil Bill got a Black Punk video he released like a week ago. Drop the link. But he did drop a playlist. It's on his Twitter.
I did.
For anybody that wants to get into it.
If it wasn't for Bill, all I know is that one stint of when Howard voiced for Killswitch Engage. That's all I knew.
I would have just known the black guy in Sting. That would have been
there. You go.
The breadth of my knowledge.
The black guy in Sting.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, so
back the fact that you didn't even know.
We might need.
I'm trying to figure out what y'all talking about.
With the curly hair, he like
that ain't no damn Sting. That's Gun. You talking about the dude?
You talking about Guns N' Roses?
The light skinned dude?
Oh,
you talking about Slash?
You're talking about Slash?
Slash.
That's not even punk, nigga.
Slash.
You see what you saved me from? I'm young. I'm also African.
That's not punk. That's just ego. That's just ego because of Axl Rose.
Tay Colormine is 25. 27, yeah, that's still way younger than. That's way younger than
27.
I am 34.
Right. Hey, how much time you got, FD? Because
I'm gonna keep running. So,
all right, because my Hobie take ain't long. I just, like I said, I watched the movie more as more dope entertainment as far as the story. I just liked him as he was great comic relief without it being overdone. Like the reason a lot of us didn't like Thor is they had comedy, it just was overdone, but. Hobie was dropping some real shit, but also it was perfect time. Like it wasn't too much. Like I went to go see it twice, and the second time I noticed a funny joke that when Spider Baby takes a dump on Miguel, he's like, "Yeah, take a dump on the establishment." So after your first time, you like, "Oh, he's talking about what's the name?" Because he's the establishment running everything.
Yeah, the real question about. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say before we close out, I wanted to get off my sequel prediction, so I'll let somebody else go.
Yeah, I'll say. Yeah. Okay. Wait. You want to talk?
Just real question. It's piggyback on what you said earlier. It's not so much why did Hobie join. Why did Miguel hire his ass? What kind of whack fascist are you?
He's him. He's him.
Right.
Like literally.
He's the embodiment of too good to ignore.
Right. And
it's the same reason. It's the same reason label sign bands like Anti-Flag and Rage Against the Machine, and then let them niggas say "Arm the Homeless" for like 5 albums straight.
Go ahead though.
There was this TikTok by this girl named arguably some great creator. Please follow her. But like something that she said about Hobby, which is that like how they actually portrayed anarchists like him is like how they usually don't portray someone like him in media at all, because they usually portray people like him as like just totally reactionary and not doing anything to help the community to help out anything. They're always being reactionary but not helping. And with this movie, it's the complete opposite, because he does everything to help. And he's never reactionary. Whenever he does have those, like, I guess, reactionary moments, he's really dropping real shit. It's not like just like right. It's not
how dangerous we could be if we wanted to, or if you both were reacting to injustice and also wanted to do shit about it as well. But they don't want us to know that people like that could exist.
Right. Exactly. Literally like. It's like that, like people, like characters like him in media, they're never portrayed as like community helpers, as community builders. Never. But this is like the one time where it's like, yeah, he was actually the first one to really tell Miles like, hey, bro, this is what's really going on. Like, make your own watch, nigga, because this shit about to go down. And
and that's what scares.
Like, talk.
That's what scares me though. Because he's done so well. Everything in this movie is done so well. To get to my sequel predictions, how they gonna fuck it up? Because punks and anarchists have been depicted a certain way for a reason, right? The cops. So the propaganda in this is different. It's still propaganda. I'm actually bringing on, shout out to Skip Intro. I should talk to him Friday to talk about propaganda.
Oh, that'll be dope.
That'll be hard.
Because he's a kind of that's his lane. And I felt like the propaganda in this was more, everything about this movie is more sophisticated than the usual Marvel. You know, we're gonna inch close to the edge of like some real shit and then pull back.
That's
you know,
we're gonna Sony.
Right,
exactly. All our stuff.
Sony could do that.
Maybe Sony is like, we don't give a fuck. Just do
well,
what y'all
I mean,
want.
because Marvel exists, right? I don't even want to. I want to have a more nuanced topic conversation than that. Like Marvel, because Marvel, we live in a Marvel world. I think it only makes sense that eventually we've been building up to another studio that could be like, all right, now that people are like, I have a superhero movie that's gonna check all the boxes and play it straight. How about we actually give people some story and some art? Right? Like, what if, because everybody coming out of this movie is like, wow, this is if Marvel actually cared about making a comic book adaptation more than what it was.
Right. But I want to hear FD prediction. I want to hear FD prediction because I got a dark one.
I got, oh shit.
Damn.
So,
Damn.
2099 Spider-Man becomes the Spider-Man of World 42. He commits himself to helping out that world. Miles 42 it becomes a focal point of the next movie. I don't know exactly how they're going to do it, but I feel like they didn't make that the cliffhanger to let it just kind of play the back. Gwen gets her. Gwen becomes Starlight, and to take Lil Bill's metaphor, she earns her spot.
She can have it.
As does who called her Dawn? It's Spider Woman. What's the real name?
Jessica Drew.
Jessica Drew. Thank you.
Kamala.
Kamala. She gets it. She gets it back right. The question is, who dies? So does Gwen's dad die, which I could see because I feel like they set that up as the redemption arc for him. I don't think Miles loses his dad. I think that would be gratuitous. I don't think they're gonna do that in a movie that's this black with all these black people clearly involved in the creation. They're gonna kill this man's father in two different universes. Maybe Spider-Man, maybe the other Spider-Man dies. I don't know. Somebody gonna die. Let's see. I'm gonna see what John has to say.
All right. My prediction is that I don't really have a big prediction about Universe 42, but eventually we're going to have to get back to the main one. I think that during some battle, main Miles Morales, his mother is killed during it because he's trying to stop it. By some way, they're going to throw us off. She's going to get killed. And out of all of that, Miles is going to reveal his identity to his dad. And his dad is going to leave the police force for some reason. And I didn't really think about the other universes, but yeah, my prediction is that he is going to have some loss. I think it's just going to be his mother that dies because he's trying to prevent what they consider to be the inevitable. And his dad may either leave the force or something, or he may not leave the force, but yeah, I think his mom is going to die.
I rebuke that in the name of Jesus. And
I love his mom. Think about how much that'll hit you. Like
but
his mom
right now. You play back the scene from the water tower, being like, before you go out there and make sure you come back with a cake.
Don't do that.
I can hear it.
Chill, y'all gotta stop. I'm not with it.
I think protect black women. Protect Afro-Latino women.
Protect black women for real.
Protect black women. That's the next Spider-Man. Spider-Man, protect black women.
Yeah.
In the multiverse. Bill, you didn't get your Hobie takes in.
Oh yeah.
Go, Bill. All right. I freaking love Hobie as much as I'm not going to get in the Batman. I'm not going to do it. But Hobie, because I don't really know too much about Spider-Man, honestly. I just know like the basic base level comic book stuff. But Hobie might be my new favorite superhero. I'm not even gonna lie. And
Hobie
the reason,
my bad.
And here's the thing: is as I ain't gonna call myself a punk because I hate labels. But
I had to pee him.
As a nigga that has been either in or on the periphery of this scene, of this whole aesthetic, I have never seen an anarcho street punk written in a way that was not a joke character, that was not a parody, that was not a villain, right? Because growing up in the 90s, we had
they hated punks in the 90s.
Oh, they hated punks in the 90s.
Oh,
they hated them. What was the dude from Doug with the leather jacket?
Was that Skeeter?
Oh no, Roger.
No,
Roger. That was it.
I thought Roger was a greaser. I didn't know he was a punk.
No, but greaser comes from the punk aesthetic is built out of that.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying this from limited. I'm gonna let Bill actually. I'm sorry. I'm punk explaining to Bill.
They're psychobillies. They're psychobilly, sick boys, whatever you want to call them.
I ain't never heard
but anyway, social distortion. Anyway, I'm just telling you, like I love it so much because he encapsulates the whole the spirit of what punk is that it is fundamentally anti-establishment. It is anti-authoritarian. It is F you, I won't do what you tell me. It is let me form my own path. It is DIY. That's the thing that a lot of people forget about. That's the thing. What made punks is that it was, you know the reason why you don't know a lot of punk bands, because they didn't get down with the major labels, because they were major labels, because they would be set, they would have to water down their sound, or they would have to sell out in some way, shape, or form or degree. So even the big ones that Bad Brains, Black Flag, all of them, they were independent for the majority of their history. So I just love the way, and even little stuff like him picking the joints off the wall to put the watch together. That's the DIY aesthetic right there. It's, let's grab some guitars, let's grab a drum. We may not know how to play, but we're going to bang this thing out until we figure it out. You know what I mean? But as far as the politics go with Hobie, again, and if Andrew was on here, he could speak more authoritatively on anarchism, but that's basically what it comes down. It's rejecting the idea that we need a centralized authority, or we need a centralized that we need a big brother, an all-seeing eye. Going back to the white supremacist thing that we were talking about, that I know better than you. No, nigga, how do you know better than me what's best for me for my own life? So Hobie, I think from jump, Hobie's whole deal was, I'm going to go into Spider Fed HQ. I'm going to bide my time, and I'm going to quote SpongeBob, I'm going to tear this oppressive establishment down board by board. And my God, I love it. I'm gonna leave off on this point because I really don't have a lot of predictions as far as the whole, because honest to God, at this point, all I care about is Hobie, to keep it a buck. That's all I care about. All I care about is Hobie. Yeah. So, and shout out to Veritas Joe for pointing this out. And I said, oh, I didn't catch that. But he was the first one to say it on Twitter. Old school skinheads, right? And just for those of y'all who didn't watch the video, skinheads are historically anti-fascist. They're historically, as a matter of fact, a lot of them are anarchists. It wasn't until stupid white supremacist dickheads came in and co-opted it, just like they did woke. That exactly. Y'all, that's what happened with skinheads, is that it went woke. But anyway, old school skinheads, what they would do is they would broadcast their politics through lace code, which is basically it's like prison tattoos, right? So like if like anti-racism was like your thing, like a lot of the LA punks did this because that LA is as diverse a city as you can get. And so once the white supremacist skinheads started trying to co-op stuff, they were wearing yellow laces, which meant that you were anti-racist. Purple is LGBT, red is Nazis, I think. Whatever, I don't care.
But you get to the blue laces though.
Yeah, the blue laces. So blue laces means that you killed a cop. That's what blue laces mean. And Hobie has blue laces in his boots, which initially, first of all, I didn't even see it. I didn't even think about that. But
what the fuck was his canon moment? There you go.
Right.
So exactly. Now, this is the thing, and Regis might kind of know where I'm going with this. In the main universe, Spider-Man, that Hobie Brown, his first alter ego was the Prowler. So my theory is this, because I'm trying to figure out, well, how are you in a narco-communist street punk and you got this close relationship with a cop? Like, that's the most antithetical thing. But this is what I think happened. I think that in his universe, you know, and also another thing is that Hobie, unlike all of the other Spider people, well, most of the other Spider people, he did not have a guiding influence. He was a street kid, right? And he started out as, you know, and Hobie kills in the comics, if I'm right. Hobie killed Norman Osborn in his universe. But anyway, and I'm trying to wrap this up. I think what happened is that Hobie, as the Prowler, probably killed the cop, and then somehow he had his come to Jesus moment. If we could, again, this is a Disney movie. We got to come back to the cop again. I think that he has his come to Jesus moment where he says to himself, you know, the system, you know, policing as an institution, as a system, may be, you know, all jacked up and screwed up, but there are people within the system that are trying to do good within the confines of, you know, policing as a system. Again, it's Disney, so I'm trying to think the way that a Disney writer would think. And so
I do fear. I gotta wrap you up, Bill. I'm sorry. I do fear that Hobie's gonna be the one that saves Miles' dad. Like I just I
feel like as it to atone for his Captain Stacy dying. That basically the point that I was trying to get at is that
he killed his Captain Stacy.
Before we finish, can I get my quick propaganda take off? Because honestly, like I skip the intro. He makes amazing videos. I watch a ton of his. I didn't really see too much propaganda. Like, to me, it depicted how flawed police are. Like, Gwen's dad only became a good father once he decided to leave the force. And
that's what makes it so scary to me, because like I feel it, but I don't see it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like I don't.
His character isn't there.
Yeah. If you ask me to point to propaganda in the movie, it wouldn't be obvious. Like, it's right there.
Yeah. Right.
But I see the elements, and I'm like, I may not see this.
And also, like I said, the Miles' dad, he's unrealistically a good dad. He's not really, as far as like, it doesn't really show him being a super cop. Like somebody said, like he said
beat his wife.
He said the statement, he said the statement like, see, this is why people don't like us. You get the feeling that he only took that job similar to why a lot of black people only join the military. Yep. They like, it's either what was the name say? It's either crack rocks or jump shots. His dad is like, I can get a pension. To me, I don't know how much they're gonna go into the past based off the comics, but from what I understand, his dad was in the streets. And this is what I forgot to mention. So remember, he kind of yada over it because his wife gave him the look when Miles is like, Dad, didn't you and Uncle chase y'all dreams? Y'all had a career. And it seems like his dad was gonna be like, yeah, well, back in the day, me and your uncle so dope. But his wife looked at him like he don't need to know that. And it sounds like he got the mom pregnant at a young age. So to me, honestly, I didn't see propaganda. I feel at least this is one of the most nuanced depictions of it. Like, his dad, the story, he has to be a cop, but it really wasn't trying to highlight him being a good cop. It was more highlighting him being a good father and to the best of his ability, you know?
Yeah. And that's kind of like, so Amir makes a point that humanizing the badge is propaganda in and of itself, which I would kind of agree with.
Right.
But that's the thing though. So like,
it didn't humanize the badge. I mean, it humanized the person.
But that's the thing. So, and that's a key thing I've always been frustrated with in terms of how everybody just throws ACAB out without like keeping in mind that the badge is the problem and the institution of policing is the problem. That's why you don't really call Spider-Man a cop, because the way Spider-Man moves is different than how policing works. And so the fear is how these the fear
we
is
just
how,
got the conch back, guys.
Right, my bad. Who was supposed to be next? And then
I'm talking whoever did what they continue. Fig.
But basically, yeah, it's so complex and nuanced, and I feel basically what it is. I feel so good about it. I don't trust it. That's just my natural instinct. I don't.
Somebody quoted, "You hear boss music, but you don't see the boss."
Right. No, I see all these health and power ups in this arrow, and I'm like, yo.
Exactly.
My thing, and like allow me this grace for being young, right? But it is what I don't know about my cop again or radar. That basically is what the summary of what I'm trying to say, which I understand using a cop as a narrative tool, like why it's so prevalent. Like
that's how I feel about the entire
good
movie.
Authority figure that you understand, and like they have a set of like archetypes within them, and so then I can see Spider-Verse using cops and then say, "Oh, you're doing it better than like Blue Bloods," and therefore take it more as a like, okay, well, one canon, it needs to be a cop, but also the cop as allegory for authority, systemic pressure, in a way that's order in a way that's more broad than copping. So it's like that's why if I were like, it wouldn't be me, but if I was a devil advocate, I'd be like, I don't know if I say humanizing like the characters makes it propaganda, simply because the way they're humanizing or the point of being the cop is you could trade it out and make these characters basically see basically managers of like construction firm or like other authority figures, and I think the story still works. But we're in New York, so they're cops.
Yeah, and it's also like that's this trouble with all these old comics is that this is a pre-Warren Court era, pre-civil rights era, all these other things like concepts where police like watch you some skip intro, y'all, because like the way he breaks down the nature and like the history of policing within media is really dope. And one of the videos he did was like how Dragnet changed the way we perceive police officers, because police officers were not respected until like the 70s. You know what I'm saying? Nobody liked the police. It wasn't just us. And then like seeing police as bastions of order and righteousness is a new. That's why Westerns were Westerns. You know what I'm saying? Like Westerns, those weren't police officers. It was anyway. I feel like Think Peace had something up, and then like it will do last words.
Shoot.
Predictions
about okay.
Oh yeah,
because I was gonna get into the propaganda, but like Lil Bo just handled that shit perfectly. So I'm like, damn, he really took the word on. I got a prediction. It's like I have cameos alone. I know they're gonna put Japanese Spider-Man in there. They're gonna put the 90s Spider-Man.
Oh, they got to. They got to.
If they put the 90s one, man, that'd be so hype.
Oh, absolutely.
I want to see the 90s one.
They literally said on Twitter that they have characters saved, and I knew that. I was like, oh yeah, it's gonna be him, and they're gonna they might put Superior Spider-Man there, maybe, hopefully. I would love to see that. What else is gonna happen? Shoot, I was gonna think Miles 42 and Miguel might team up. I have a feeling that might happen, and I really want to see what they're gonna do with that specifically. If that happens, I'm very interested to see where that even goes. Not alone. Is he gonna? Because like the thing with Miguel, like the directors came out and said this, like Miguel was like a stand-in or a commentary for all the shit that people have been saying about Miles for years now. You know, like fucking quartering, neurotic, yo bitch ass neurotic. Fucking Miles Morales, Miles Morales type shit. So he was a standard for that. So I wonder if he's gonna treat Miles 42 like a fucking token black because he listens, right? Or like something like that. I really do want to see what they're gonna do with that. And last point. I feel like I was a little bit mean to Batman, so I'm gonna say this because JPEG Mafia did bring this point up that like. Bro, that like Bruce Wayne and Batman are two different people, and it's like he don't even view himself as Bruce Wayne. He views himself as Batman, and like it's like another point. It's like okay, like he got $1 billion and became Batman. He could have done all. He could have become Lex Luthor, being like supporting Lockheed Martin or Raytheon or fucking destroying the environment. he could have been working for Chevron doing all this other shit, but he became Batman, which is that's kind of hard though. I agree. He became Batman.
Yeah.
That's the best we can do. Who else got predictions?
I'm so sick and tired of y'all.
Who else got predictions? Who else has predictions?
Hero got a prediction.
Go ahead, Hero.
So I'm really interested on what they're gonna do with 42 Miles. I think just from his pot smoke braids alone, I think he's gonna bring a lot of energy to like. I'm not sure if Miles 42 is like going to be fully antagonistic, and because I know he was like, that was your dad, not my dad, but I think I'm hoping once Miles catches him up in a situation, and maybe Hobie slips in too and kind of gives him the rundown of like, hey man, like being Spider-Man isn't all that's cracked up to be, and like we got a lot of stuff that we're trying to deal with here, especially considering that like all the stuff that's happening to Miles isn't even necessarily his fault. He's kind of rolling with the punches now, so I feel like in this third movie they're gonna kind of address like that whole concept of like you're this anomaly in this world, the type of imposter syndrome that you get from being in a place that you feel like you're not supposed to be. I feel like they're gonna kind of really address that and make that like known that like I didn't ask for like all this shit to happen to me, but I'm gonna make do with the best I got, and it's really forming community with like-minded people that'll kind of get you to a point where like that's kind of accurate.
Hell no, Chance
Shadow the Morales.
I've been seeing some people call Miles 42 kilometer. Yeah, I've been seeing people call
me
kilometer. I feel like I'm too old. What is that?
No, like kilometer, because the metric system and
miles. Oh, I get it.
It's okay. It's the American
kilometer
system.
See, in my head, I say kilometer. That's why.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Okay,
that's fair. I think. Okay. Actually, sorry, I didn't know you were done.
No, I was just gonna say like, as far as predictions are concerned, I think they're gonna really address like, Miles is kind of like being ousted from the Spider Society and like have that be an allegory for blackness, all that. I think they're gonna really kind of go home on that within maybe Earth 42, just because that seems like a world where there's just a whole lot of like inequality and shit going on anyway. And maybe instead of using like, Earth 42 as an example of like, see, this is what happens when you don't go by the canon, it's going to be like more along the lines of like, this is what happens when, you feel like things have to be ordered in a specific way, so that like things can, achieve some type of status quo, essentially. So I feel like there's a lot with Earth 42 that they're going to go about with, and they're bringing back a whole bunch of people from the first Spider-Verse movie. So, it just kind of sucks that it was such a cliffhanger, because it was just like,
y'all see, it sucks. I don't know. I believe in art too much. I think those type of
people.
That's how
people really like the. People really love the Matrix / Pirates of the Caribbean endings.
Yeah.
It sucks because I wanted resolution.
Yeah,
and that's why it's gonna feel so much better in 9 months.
Yeah, I went in not knowing it was a 2-parter.
Same.
And so when they said to be continued, I was like,
okay,
yo, they still do
I
that?
knew a year ago they changed the
Yeah, they announced it. It was across the Spider-Verse Part 1 and Part 2.
Yeah,
then they gave
the
it
marketing. Yeah,
and I remembered, and I realized that I remember seeing it, but I still sat in that theater. I was like, if y'all about to pull a Matrix Resolutions / Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest ass bitch. And I was like,
Cullimon, you go ahead, and then I think we got LaRon and Bill.
Okay.
Yeah,
I also don't have a bunch of predictions, especially for the late game of how it should be ending. But I think there are two possible options to take the story from here, right? Two big options, right? It's either something needs to happen for everyone on the Spider-Verse, including Spider-Man 2099, to be on the same side as Miles Morales. Therefore, we would then say that Spicy Morales is like
Spicy Morales
is the villain, right? Like he's actually truly a villain in Earth 42. My preferred idea is that we find out that in fact the Spider-Man is still on Earth 42 and it's just the Prowler now because of like the juxtaposition of like what good looks like in the world without Spider-Man, like getting it out the mud type nigga trying to Black Panther type shit basically.
No,
right?
That makes sense. Yeah, I
right.
like that.
Now, if that's gonna be the play, I think that means the movie is gonna try to show, because we still have to include the rest of the Spider-Verse, is that okay? One, goodness is relative. Because you're in the system doesn't mean you're naturally the good guys all the time.
And we the baddies,
right? And then like it'll spend basically Gwen's half of the story like with everybody else getting to see the errors of their ways, do this questioning of, man, but like, look what happens when you break the canon, and they're gonna be all like, stop being so fucking old. You don't know what's gonna happen to the canon. And then ultimately after Spider Issa turns over and backstabs Miguel, who's gonna be the last person to like want to turn over, then we I think we join forces with Spicy Morales to defeat the Spot, and then we should wrap everything up.
Yeah.
I have no idea how they're getting rid of Spot though.
Yeah, I think he's at
all.
He
low-key more dangerous than Thanos, if we think about it.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Like, I'm not. Most of my Marvel knowledge now is coming from Rob, from Comics Explained, and fucking Movie Bob, who everybody hates, but like he's a fucking great resource for nerds.
And Alex Lennon, shout out Alex Lennon. I saw he was in the chat earlier.
So one of them hinted at him being the Beyonder, which is like.
That's what I was.
I think I said that's what I was telling Bellamy about in the chat. The Beyonder is supposed to be the one that doesn't step in, right? Or am I thinking?
No, that's
the Watcher.
Okay, never mind, man. Never mind.
That's Jeffrey Wright.
Yeah. Go ahead, LeBron.
So if y'all watch, if y'all watch my work, then you know that I have a ridiculous obsession with the concept of trilogies. And I, from my experience in how trilogies quote unquote used to be done, because as trilogies of like Guardians of the Galaxy has shown, and over the time that they're breaking away from that formula. But one thing that trilogies used to do, like going on from like Godfather to the original Star Wars trilogy, is that they take a story aspect from the first one and expand upon it in the third one, and in order to bring the story together. You can't expand the thread in the second one, but you have to solidify it as the truth as in the third installment. That's why Darth Vader was able to say, "I am your father," in Empire Strikes Back, and Yoda confirmed your father Vader is in Return of the Jedi. And then Obi-Wan Kenobi was like, what I told you was true from a certain point of view, and sat down on a rock as a ghost. But it's but what Across does is that they actually take the thread from the first one, which is that the spider never originated from Miles' universe and originated from 42. And both expand upon it and confirm it in Across. So their thread is the thread. What they go over from the first one, they only focus it on the second one. So what are they going to do for the third? How are they going to bring over this aspect from to the third? What is something that we've experienced in Into that we're going to expand upon and beyond? And I think if they're going to go the route of still establishing information from the first one as like this aspect of the trilogy rule, is that I think they're going to use that. I think they're still going to use the fact that Spider 42 ending up in Miles's universe isn't an anomaly figure. It was preordained. It was always part of the canon to begin with.
Yeah.
It's part of the canon for this Miles to break the canon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good way to get to that point. I think it's also gonna somehow they gotta say it like that. I mean, that's a guaranteed banger. Let's be real. Like that plot point is a guaranteed banger to be like, oh, actually, I was supposed to surpass you guys the entire time. So we're
exactly
right. All right.
I want to do my real closing remarks. It'll be quick because I didn't know that was. I was gonna say just for the propaganda folks, just from a narrative standpoint, I'm kind of like read this and color mine. From a narrative standpoint, I looked at the movie more that way. So the only other way it would have worked is unless you made Miles' dad just like one of the worst criminals in the city. It has to be that yin and that yang, where Miles' dad is doing what he believes by the law, and Miles is a vigilante, which technically makes him a criminal because he's taking crime in his own hands. So especially him being a teenager, it really doesn't work any other way. He's trying to hide his identity with this extra layer of irony of his dad, who's actually doing quote unquote by the law. So I just from a storytelling standpoint, I loved everything about this movie. Like it's perfection to me.
Facts.
I'll say like one more thing. I do hope that they put Madam Web.
I don't know shit about her.
She only from the 90s cartoon. Wait, at least that's what I know of her. I only know her from the 90s cartoon.
She's getting her own movie, but that's not
she's getting her own movie. She's trash.
It's gonna be terrible. Sony don't even make a cartoon.
Yeah.
If it's not a cartoon, I'm not going to see that. I'm not going to see that Craven bullshit. I'm not going to see.
I'm gonna see the other ones. I'm gonna see it.
It's gonna be terrible.
Yeah,
Craven got drip for days. I don't know.
Craven don't have no villains. He's not going to be able to fight Spider-Man.
He is a villain. He is a
villain.
The one thing that I'll be right, it's the whole. Yeah.
You're right, it's not even Conch. My back hurt, and I need to put some kids in
there. Okay.
Miami and 6. Miami and 6.
Denver and 6.
I love Chris Miller and Phil Lord. You are fucking legends for putting Josh Keaton back in the Spectacular Spider-Man role. I fucking love y'all. Oh, that was the one of the first animated like Spider-Man shows I ever watched. It was this fucking. I still have this fucking box set from Blockbuster 2009. This was the first Spider-Man that I had ever watched, and then it was the Spider-Man. Like literally, y'all are legends for that. I respect y'all tenfold. That's where I tenfold for that for sure.
You're gonna have to message me and tell me what the fuck you was just talking about because I don't know. I don't know the names. I don't know Spider-Man.
It was a lot of nerd shit.
It was too much nerd shit.
I mean, I'm usually up on it, but I don't.
The same people who made the Spider-Verse movies made
it's like 3 cartoons that I haven't had.
No, I'm trying to think of something. What's that? Those movies with Jonah Hill and and the Lego movie. Yeah, 21 Jump Street. Yeah, they all made 21 Jump Street, the remake movie.
Yeah. Either way, hey y'all, this was dope and fun and awesome.
Let me get my last word in real quick.
Go ahead. I guess Billy said
it's gonna be real quick. Anarchy. Yes.
What a good way to end it off.
Supremacy. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Hobie's a
anarchist superhero. Yes, if you're going to be a superhero, go all the way.
Anarchy. That's the best way to do it.
Down with the government. Arm the homeless.
So y'all, I'm
ACAB.
No fucking Spider Cop. No Spider Cop. Spider-Man is anti-establishment. No, none of that shit.
Hey, I might do a video on how leftists soften FTP to ACAB. Low-key FTP is way more disrespectful, but hey, that's another time.
That's why the nigga here.
I'm trying to think of a way to do it. Like, how do we go from FTP to ACAB?
Because it had to be
softened. It had to be softened.
You get what I'm saying?
Like marketable.
They saw like how you marketing disrespect. I don't get it.
I gotta go.
Bastard. That's like 2 different
Conch is on fire yet again.
I'm gonna download this and then put it on Discord and Dropbox. Thank you everybody for being here. All love to everybody on the panel. Everybody's watching. Peace and blessings, y'all.
All right, y'all.
Peace
Hope
out.
you crib. Listen to Nipsey Hussle, Blue Laces.
Anarchy.